Welcome back to Movie Dumpster Season 8, Episode 11. Today we're talking about The Dunwich Horror from 1970, directed by Daniel Haller, the last of the H.P. Lovecraft adaptations by the legendary Roger Corman. I'm Joel Escola.
And I'm Sean O'Rourke.
Welcome to The Dumpster. The summer is here, Sean. We're in full swing. It's June.
Yes.
And we're coming at you with the Summer of Lovecraft.
Right. Oh, God. Where are we going with the 8th season of Lovecraft?
Oh, I was going to say H.P. Lovecraft's.
Oh.
It's Movie Dumpster's Summer of Lovecraft.
Okay, Howard P. Lovecraft,
HP.
Movie Dumpster.
Yes.
The Summer of Lovecraft. This is an idea you've pitched to me a few years running now, but we finally, we pulled the Necronomicon out of the fucking ocean. We grabbed it out of Cthulhu's fingers. We somehow survived. We didn't go insane.
No, we rode this giant ship right into him, and he fucking popped into a big gassy explosion.
It was like Godzilla, but it was actually Dagon, but we're riding like a sandworm out of Doom. Let's just complete the analogy.
Yeah, it could be. It was almost like the shark from Jaws 4.
We're like Matthew McConaughey and Rain of Fire. We're riding that some bitch until we hit the ground, dying or something. I don't know.
Oh man, we're riding on the shockless all the way to Yig, man.
There you go. That's what I was trying to say. You knew what you were picturing what I was putting down.
Yeah, I saw it. We'll put our brains in the fucking canisters from the Whisperer in Darkness. Yeah,
right, exactly. Just go down the list. Now you're starting to lose me a little bit. I know a little bit about H.P. Lovecraft. I'm not the expert, but you, I don't know if you would call yourself an expert, but you're a lifelong fan. We've talked about it before.
I'll never ever call myself an expert of anything. Sure. I am knowledgeable about things.
You can always learn more. That's fair.
And I can always learn more. I do love H.P. Lovecraft. He's been a big inspiration to me, as well as many of our contemporaries and a lot of our favorite directors and authors and stuff, which we talked about in the Reanimator episode we did about Stuart Gordon and his adaptations of Lovecraft.
Yeah, we went kind of deep there in that episode, gave a big history of HP and Reanimator specifically, obviously, because that dates back to his older works.
Yeah, and arguably that was like, Gordon's stuff was the one that kind of kicked it off for me as a kid.
Right, Reanimator.
And for a lot of people.
From beyond, yeah.
And King gets a lot of influence from H.P. Lovecraft, specifically the Dunwich Horror, which is really interesting. I think the story goes is that Stephen King found a copy of the Dunwich Horror in his father's trunk or something like that.
Dad was a secret horror fan.
And he immediately fell in love with it, and that's what kind of kickstarted him off into writing horror, which is pretty incredible. Yeah.
That is kind of cool.
There's so many parallels to Lovecraft and King in King's work. It specifically, it is through and through a fucking the being is such a Lovecraftian monster.
I haven't read a ton of King. I've read a few books, Carrie, Salem's Lot, but you definitely do feel that on the pages. And we've joked about King's mythology just about as much as we have HPs on the course of this show. Yeah, like you said, you mentioned Pennywise. We always joke about him and Munchie from the titular Munchie, always battling each other out in space or something. The turtle, that whole thing.
Munchie's definitely an eldritch horror, as well, from the cosmos. But, beyond time.
The Eldritch Horror is exactly from that H.P. Lovecraft created based on, if I get some of this wrong, I apologize, but based on some of those old legends that he had read or maybe came up with some of his own shit.
Right. We talked about this, again, I just want to plug it again. Yeah. We talked about a lot of H.P. Lovecraft stuff on the Bleeders episode we did.
Oh, yeah,
because that was a adaptation of The Lurking Fear.
Also Granny Van Damme's introduction.
Granny Van Damme's Born.
If you've never seen it.
Yeah. But also on the Reanimator episode, we talked about H.P. Lovecraft a little bit.
Yeah.
I also said there that if you want to learn more about Lovecraft as a whole, there's plenty of videos and historical deep dives on the guy himself. I really just want to talk about his work.
Sure.
But yeah, you were right. He would also get a lot of his influence. He claimed to get a lot of this influence from dreams that he had as well.
I did read that.
So that's even more interesting to me. It's almost as if the real cosmic beings that were haunting this man's brain were actually real.
Which is kind of interesting. Yeah. We mentioned Summer of Lovecraft. So there's going to be a series of episodes all focused on Mr. H.P.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm going to get some history lessons. You guys are going to get some history lessons. I listened to the Dunwich Horror, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not as fluent in HP, so this is going to be kind of fun looking at these movies based on his work. I think the next movie leans way heavier into this that we're going to cover, and the man might even appear in the film.
Well, again, we're doing the Dunwich Horror today, then we're doing Necronomicon, Book of the Dead, which is a Brian Yuzna joint, and we all know that he loves his Lovecraft.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll talk... We'll talk about that on that episode.
Yeah, he's got a couple other directors joining him.
Yeah.
And
then we're doing the Unnameable and the Unnameable 2 in a double episode, like we did for Sinjanor and like we did for Trilogy of Terror.
So wrap the seaweed around me, Joe. Like I said, drag me into the ocean. I'll have the book this time. I'll return with it. They'll like that. Cthulhu he won't kill me instantly. He'll make me into a fish person maybe with an umbrella. But beyond that, we're diving the fuck into the ocean with. Here's another reference, Creep Show with Ted Danson.
He's gonna be a deep one at the end of the day.
Oh God,
Fishman
bowing down to Cthulhu.
You're Dagon.
Oh God, see. Already teaching me. So I actually knew about Dagon, but the Cthulhu, the squid entity is burned in my brain.
I want to make this. We're almost done. We're almost getting to the
almost to our plugs.
Almost to our plugs.
With bated breath here, guys.
It's all right. I started chopping everything up in chapters. So there's preamble, there's intro, preamble,
I saw that.
behind the scenes, and then the main review. So if you don't like it, you can jump.
Yeah, on YouTube, Adaptations.
On YouTube.
Yeah,
like you said earlier, we really wanted to pull the trigger on this. It's something that has been a brainchild for a long time, and I want to make this the first honorary one. And then I think each year
is there enough material?
There's enough material to do.
Again, he wrote these books over 100 years ago. I guess there is, right?
Yeah, well, film adaptations specifically, but like there's other films I want to talk about, including Dagon by Stuart Gordon as well. And we didn't do From Beyond yet either.
True. There's a lot, you're right.
So Summer of Lovecraft 1 takes place now, and then stay tuned because we will do more next year.
Yeah. I mean, Richard Stanley, even as recently as a couple years ago, did Color Out of Space, so you're right, there's a lot.
We're going to talk a little bit about Mr. Stanley as well.
Okay.
But before we get into the pseudo-Aleister Crowley sex magic, if you want some more Movie Dumpster content, you can head over to patreon.com/moviedumpster. You can get an ad-free audio version of the show for only $2 a month. You can also get some great stuff at the $5 and $10 tiers. We also have a YouTube channel membership where you can get some, it's almost like Patreon Lite, right? You're not going to get all the perks of Patreon, but you're going to get most of the stuff there. Commentary tracks, minisodes, junk mail, which is our mailbag, and all that kind of good stuff. So if you want to do that, help support your favorite show.
And if you're watching here on YouTube, please like the video and share and subscribe if you aren't already. It really does help get the word out on the show. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast app, leave us that 5 stars and a review if you got the time. Like I just said, we want to get this show bigger, get into more eardrums, eyeballs, and everything in between, and grow this dumpster community like we're always saying. Get more folks in here to join in on the fun. Get some of that dumpster juice all over them.
Those reviews help more than anything. Don't leave that note, Cat Ted details later. You got to put all of that review in there. You got to write the whole thing. Leave that 5-star review. It really helps more than helping us out monetarily. Whether you're buying stuff or signing up for Patreon, the reviews help the most. So please do that for us. Like and share, of course. But if you do want to buy some stuff, you can head over to moviedumpsterpodcast.com. We have a full store there. We also have a calendar where you can keep up with the Dumpster Boys and see where we're going to be. From July 11th to the 13th, we're going to be at VHS Fest 9. They got an awesome lineup this year, including special guest Frank Henenlotter, which is amazing. And that, of course, is going to be at the mighty Mahoning Drive-In Theater in Lehighton, PA. So grab your tickets now. So head over to moviedumpsterpodcast.com and check it out now. So yeah, Roger Corman, I mentioned in the very beginning of the log line of this episode.
Just kind of skimmed over that. My brain was going right to HP. Yeah, right. Corman, he's back in the MDU.
I mean, this was like the golden age of Corman, right?
The Poe stuff, yeah.
Yeah, because like this is before Concord, this is before New Concord, this is before New Horizons, this is before all that stuff, this is before Munchie.
This is when he, well, yeah, I mentioned Munchie, yeah. AIP, this is when he was still cutting his teeth, for lack of a better term.
And AIP we've talked about before. We talked about that, I believe, on Blackula. American International Pictures, mind you, not Action International Pictures, was a totally different thing.
That's true. You do have to clarify that. Yeah.
I mean, they did make some of the greatest 90s low-budget action movies of all time, which we will get to eventually. But AIP was big for a lot of Edgar Allan Poe adaptations, a lot of Vincent Price stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I was surprised. I didn't realize... I mean, I knew that Corman was involved with like Pit and the Pendulum and things like that.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize he was the man responsible for bringing the first film adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft to the screen.
I mean, again, you just said all the Poe stuff, like, you know, House of Usher and, like you said, Pit and the Pendulum, Mask of the Red Death.
Yeah.
All that stuff kind of is in the vein, maybe not as... I mean, Poe can get pretty damn creepy. I think H.P. took it to another level, if you want to, you know, do the apples to oranges comparison. But
Lovecraft was directly inspired by Edgar Allan Poe.
Okay, well, that makes sense then. But I'm just saying, I guess the direct line from one to the other actually kind of makes sense when you put it that way.
Sure. Like I just said, like Corman is at the core of bringing bringing HP to the screen, and he does that in '63 with The Haunted Place. which is an adaptation of The Case of Charles Dexter Ward, in which it's a loose...
Why does it sound familiar?
It's a loose adaptation. So
is that Reanimator?
No. The Case of Charles Dexter Ward is also... there's an adaptation called The Resurrected, written by Dan O'Bannon.
Maybe I've seen that.
With Chris Sarandon as the lead, as Charles Dexter Ward in the movie. It's fucking awesome. And again, we'll save that for Summer of Lovecraft Part 2.
That's probably what I'm thinking of. Resurrected. That sounds familiar.
So Vincent Price plays Charles Dexter Ward, but it's a very loose adaptation of the film, or of the book, excuse me, of the story. And that's The Haunted Place. And then they do Die Monster Die. Now, I know you're familiar with that movie.
I don't know the name. Again, it's on the
name.
Tip of my
It rings
damn
a bell,
tongue,
though, right?
I need a picture. Sometimes I need a picture.
I think the first time I heard about that movie was like through the Misfits, right? They did a song called Die Monster Die. And that one is loosely based on The Color Out of Space.
Oh, okay.
Which I didn't know. Apparently it is.
Once you think about it, it's probably like, oh, okay. Well, loose is the key word there, but...
And then, of course, the last of the Roger Corman H.P. Lovecraft adaptations ends with the Dunwich Horror in 1970.
I wonder why. Maybe they just didn't have the money, or AIP took a shit. I'm not sure what the timeline on that is either.
Well, the other two movies are riding on things like even Murders in the Rue Morgue, and there's a lot of Poe stuff coming out in the 60s into the 70s.
Level.
Well, yeah, and Vincent Price. So it's not necessarily born out of that. It's actually born out of the success of Rosemary's Baby in 1968.
You know,
yeah.
I was gonna hold that thought, but since you brought it up, this movie feels like fucking Rosemary Baby.
Well,
a little bit.
Yeah,
parts of it.
I mean, they're not stupid. They're trying to they're
capitalizing.
They're capitalizing. They're not.
Corman's known for that.
They're cashing in. And I think I made this...
well, he's the king of cash-in.
I made this argument on the Munchie episode with Gremlins and Munchies.
When I was less familiar with Corman's work, I was more ignorant at the time.
It's not well, Munchies is a direct ripoff of Gremlins. Ghoulies was the cash-in.
Right.
This is not a ripoff of Rosemary's Baby. It's a cash-in of Rosemary's
Definitely a
Baby.
Cash-in, because it is still wildly different, but there's certain beats you're like, this feels like Rosemary's Baby, but it's not, and we'll talk about it, but I could totally see that. It's,
100%.
It's obvious now that you said it.
They inject those elements into the Dunwich Horror story, which we're going to talk about, and it's kind of like...
Well, that's what I mean.
And that's what kind of skews this from... That's why I mentioned Aleister Crowley, and I mentioned sex magic before, which we'll get to.
I was wondering where the Crowley reference was coming from, but okay.
Yeah. And Aleister Crowley in the 20s was doing like... I believe it was the 20s. If I'm getting my wires crossed, I apologize. Go look up a video on Aleister Crowley and the history of Aleister Crowley and all his crazy escapades.
Mr. Crowley, obviously.
Mr. Crowley!
Yeah.
It's actually Crowley.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Ozzy Osbourne, that's who I'm going with.
I can't believe I fucked that up. Yeah, it is Aleister.
Oh, God forbid, you can't remember everything in the universe, Joe.
I'm trying, dude. My brain is so packed and it's oozing out of my fucking ears. But Aleister Crowley, from here on out, as he shall be addressed, he had brought back... this mysticism and this weird sex magic and doing all these weird things like with the Book of Thoth and all this shit.
Okay.
So it kind of ties into Lovecraft and what was going on with him and his writing at the time as well.
Sex magic.
Not direct, well, not sex magic. Sex magic was totally an Aleister Crowley thing, and it had nothing to do with Lovecraft.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Crowley,
Yeah. Lovecraft writes this in 1928, the Dunwich Horror originally. It gets published in Weird Tales in the April issue in 1929.
Sure.
Which I'd love to get my hands on. I have an issue of Weird Tales from the 20s. I think it's the 20s where Dagon was first published.
Oh, okay.
In that.
That's like a known thing for I want to say centuries, where you have like even Charles Dickens had his stories like in magazines and stuff, and eventually they come together in the novella or the novel or what have you later.
But what's interesting is Lovecraft was never necessarily published in his... yes, he was in magazines, but he didn't have like a novel come out.
Sure.
Until post-mortem.
Oh, okay. Not like you see with King back in the day even was still doing that kind of shit.
Yeah.
1,000 examples.
Yeah.
But...
I mean, King was writing for Playboy and all kinds of shit. You know what I mean? So it was very much Lovecraft was...
just doing his own thing.
Doing his own thing, making ends meet, but also writing these stories, and they were just going to like Weird Tales magazines. So the Dunwich Horror movie.
Yes.
So AIP wants to make this. Now, in 63, which is the same year that The Haunted Place had come out, they were talking about doing this. And they originally wanted Mario Bava to direct this. Could you fucking imagine this movie directed by Mario Bava? I think it would have had way more style to it.
It's not even the same movie anymore.
I mean, it wouldn't
once
be
he's
the same
attached.
movies, no.
Outside of the lighting, that's about the only thing they kept. They're like, well, we were going to have the same lighting for Bava's version. The angles would have been better, but we kept the lighting.
Well, because they were so happy with Black Sabbath when that came out, and they're like, okay, you're going to do Dunwich Horror, and Boris Karloff and Christopher Lee are going to be in it.
I can't even be. Oh God,
could you imagine that Dunwich Horror?
I can't even be that mad because I don't know what else he put out right around there. It's probably something that's like an all-timer. It's probably like Blood and Black Lace or some shit. So I'm like, can't even be mad.
Yeah, I think Blood and Black Lace is 65.
The best Giallo ever, in my opinion, or Dunwich Horror, which could have been amazing.
It's one of the best. I mean, Bava
is one of the best.
Bava is one of the best.
Period.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You hear that's like a Spielberg, in my opinion. Like you hear, he might have done this, or a Dante.
Yeah.
But they didn't, you know.
So they end up fucking taking it away from him because what's the fucking movie? Dr. Goldfoot and the Girl Bombs?
That was another film he did?
Totally takes a shit at the box office for AIP, and they're like, no.
I gotta watch that one.
We're not giving it to you, Bava.
It's a blind spot. I gotta see where Bava faltered, apparently.
I've never seen it. I've never even fucking heard of it.
I'm gonna look it up now.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious.
So he could have got a totally different movie with Bava. So Corman gets Daniel Haller to direct this, and they had worked together for a long ass time.
Okay.
I think Corman like made him an art director on something, and then from there he just kind of started directing. So I think he directed Die Monster Die as well.
Okay.
So he did a lot of stuff for Corman and AIP.
Well, and Corman is known for doing that. Again, I mentioned Joe Dante a second ago. He was famous for editing Corman's movies, and then eventually kind of was like, hey, why don't you direct? I think it was Piranha. He was like, do Piranha, and he's like, okay. And then one of the best directors ever he turned into.
I mean, Corman gave a lot of people a platform. And,
he wanted people to succeed, try different things.
He cared about people who were passionate about it and were like going for it, and you know. The
other guy I think of is Dick Miller. He's just like, he has a funny story you could look up, but it's something like, we might even have talked about it before, where like, he was just there for extras or something. He wanted to do something else, write the scripts, and Corman's like, you're going to be an actor. And he's like, well, I don't want to be an actor. You're an actor. And then he just, one of the best, like, that guys of all time.
Oh, 100%. All started with Bucket of Blood, dude.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. Pretty good movie, actually. I watched it a couple years back.
It's good.
Solid.
There's a lot of, like, movie royalty in this movie. We're kind of, like, at the end there for a lot of people, specifically Ed Begley Sr. is in this movie as Dr. Armitage.
We got both Ed Begleys in the MDU now.
They're here. One's a giant bug and one's a fucking expert on the Necronomicon.
Yeah, and he knows the language. He's got it down pat. In this version.
He's speaking something. We're going to fucking talk about it.
Some offshoot of Latin or something.
It's not whatever. We'll get
it's not
there.
what it's supposed to be.
It's not even close what it's supposed to be.
But I did kind of find it funny. Maybe not funny to everybody, but that when you look it up on Wikipedia, because I was trying to find the relation, like, okay, he's obviously Ed Begley Jr.'s father, but like how? It's like the sentence on Wikipedia is like, oh, Ed Begley Jr. is his extramarital son. I'm like, oops, Ed Begley was getting into some business outside of wedlock. Oops. And then he like actually died shortly after they made this movie. That's the other trivia.
He was riding the baloney pony, man.
He was thinking about that giant cockroach his mistress was going to conceive. He didn't want to stay in the world long to see that. He's like, it's going to come out a big white egg. It's going to hit the ground and splash all over the place. I don't want to see that shit. I'm going out.
He fucking died the same year this movie came out. This was like one of the last movies that he made.
He's damn good in this.
Oh, he's great.
I literally don't think I've seen him in anything else. So it really took me by surprise when his name flashed on screen.
Yeah.
I was like, I guess he kind of looks like him. And then you look up Ed Begley Jr.'s mother, and it's like, oh, he got most of it from Ma.
We also have Dean Stockwell in this.
Another MDU alumni.
Another MDU alumni. Yeah. Famously in the In Pursuit episode.
He went on to do a few more movies with Daniel Baldwin. I guess they clicked on set. Water Damage is one we got to cover eventually.
Oh, God.
And then he eventually, well, we might talk about it shortly, but he did the fucking remake to this movie as a different character.
That's the last thing we're going to talk about before we get into this. But but he's also like a Lynch, regular.
Yeah.
He's in Dune. He's in a ton of shit.
We talked about him.
Quantum Leap, of course.
Quantum Leap. That was the other one we talked about him in some episode.
Blue Velvet.
Yes.
So Dean plays Wilbur Whateley in this, and apparently he was quoted in Psychotronic that like he didn't necessarily like the script because it wasn't really Lovecraft at all. Like it wasn't.
Well, he did it.
He did it well. Fucking dude's got to eat for sure.
Right,
I mean, he's pretty great in this. I think he's pretty good in this.
He plays whatever they asked him to do pretty damn well. I mean, I have to imagine what that script said. Like a lot of just hey, you got to stare off from the distance and kind of look like a creep. And he accomplished that for most of this movie, I think.
Because he was like, he's a big Lovecraft fan, and he was like, this isn't particularly scary or even really the same thing as the story, so he was kind of disappointed by it.
I'm not making this comparison, but it's a funny analogy, so I'm just gonna say it. That's like James Masterson's on fucking Dragon Ball Evolution. He's like, this isn't Piccolo from the comic. What if I did this instead? They're like, all right, James, we don't want to hear your opinion.
Yeah, well, the difference is James Marsters made up for it by voicing Dragon Ball Z characters, whereas Dean Stockwell does the fucking Dunwich Horror remake and doesn't redeem himself whatsoever.
No, it's just kind of a funny analogy because we've covered both movies, and for some reason, Dragon Ball Evolution just keeps fucking coming up.
Real quick before we get to the Dunwich Horror remake, Les Baxter scores this, and it's really good. And
it's a good score.
It's great. It has a very. What's funny, we were just talking about Bava, but it has a very kind of Italian 70s sound to it.
I think they brought him on around when they were trying to get Bava. They didn't get rid of him.
But it's really good. I really like the soundtrack a lot. That brings us to 2009.
Yeah, that we just teased the remake.
Yeah.
Remake.
So Dean Stockwell and Jeffrey Combs are in the remake of the Dunwich Horror from 2009.
Right. Both alumni to different, not to keep using the word alumni.
Lovecraft movies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Reanimator and even Necronomicon, which we're going to get to.
I mean,
that Jeffrey Combs is in.
From Beyond, he's in.
The whole fucking Reanimator series, really.
All the Reanimator movies. The Evil Clergyman, who's also... We'll talk about that when we get to Necronomicon.
Heavily involved people.
All the Charles Band Lovecraft stuff.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So Dean Stockwell and fucking Jeffrey Combs were in this movie, and
they saw H.P. Lovecraft and signed on without reading.
Sean and I were like texting the other day, and I'm like, fuck it, I had just watched Dunwich Horror 97, and I was like, fuck it, let me give 2009 a spin.
I watched Ghostbusters instead. I was like, I'll get to it later. It's the anniversary of Ghostbusters. I gotta watch that instead.
Yeah, on Ghostbusters Day.
I'll get in the text like at the part when Gozer finally shows up. Joe had been watching it for an hour. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, you're laughing you're like, I'm fucking watching Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And like, my
J. Edgar Hoover's getting talked about.
Oh my God, man, you want...
Don't think about him.
This movie is terrible. It's on Tubi. You can watch it if you want.
Is this like Argento's Dracula bad?
No,
maybe not that bad.
It's even worse than that. And the problem that I have with the remake of Dunwich Horror is that so there's a lot of liberties taken with other adaptations of Lovecraft's work. Of course there is. I mean, Reanimator famously, and but it's a really good movie.
A classic, yeah.
Right? Dunwich Horror remake is not a really good movie. It's I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with so Dean Stockwell plays Dr. Armitage, but he's like a supernatural cop or some shit who can shoot beams out of his fingers. Dude, it looks so fucking bad. This movie looks like an After Effects reel for 2009.
He's like Lopan?
Dude, he shoots fucking shit out of his fingers. You can barely hear him most of the time because the audio is really bad.
Oh no.
Jeffrey
no
Combs,
ADR.
Jeffrey Combs plays Wilbur Whately. Doesn't look like a goat in that either.
Oh, we didn't even get to that.
He's like a Sling Blade character.
Like Billy Bob Thornton kind of thing?
Yeah. He's got this jaw that comes out and he's Wilbur Whately. And I'm like, Jeff, what the fuck are you doing in this movie?
Is he kind of look like he does in, what's that Peter Jackson movie?
Oh, Frighteners.
Frighteners, where he's got the comb over.
Actually, he does have the comb over.
I kind of imagine
He wears like a bowler cap and this black shirt, and he's just like a simpleton doing the bidding of his grandfather and his mother, question mark.
Poor man's worm tongue almost?
Not
from Lord of the Rings?
The movie feels more like H.P. Lovecraft's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
But that's not a positive endorsement, is what you're saying.
No, not at all. It's ass. And the main people.
What is Jeffrey Combs fucking what's his face in 2 with the coat hanger on his head?
Oh, Chop Top?
Top?
No, he's more.
Hey, yeah.
He's kind of like the hitchhiker, sort of.
Which is supposedly Chop Top's fucking cousin or whatever.
His brother.
Yeah. Oh, brother. Yeah.
Well, Chop Top was in Nom.
Right. Well, that's why he wasn't there.
Yeah.
I forgot. I got to rewatch it, Joe.
And then Nubbins is the hitchhiker.
Yeah, we did that episode with Hack the Movies a couple years ago. We watched every one of those, and I love a lot of those movies, but it's I'm fucking burned out on Texas Chainsaw. It's all like a mush in my brain.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, it's just really awful. The CG is unforgivable.
No.
And there's swaths of just bad storytelling and dialogue. And I'm just look, I'll forgive it for being an independent film for sure. Of course. I'm an independent filmmaker. I get it. You're limited by shit. But this problem is not a camera problem. It's not a technical problem. It's a writing problem and a pacing problem.
Right.
And it just, none of it makes sense to me personally.
And
it's very ham-fisted and it's very like...
Let's say the actors are just doing what they're told, you would guess, right?
Well, no, yeah, of course. But like, it's the thing where like people who write Lovecraft adaptations can't help themselves but like add like other Lovecraft references in it to it.
Oh, like they got to sneak it in.
They got to sneak it in. I'm like, just tell the fucking story. Like, if you want to put a little twist on it, that's fine, or your version of it, or update it for a modern day version of it. That's cool, fine. But like, they're like, yes, and when I studied, like there's two guys talking, two professors, right? Because Dean Stockwell goes and asks this fucking guy to help him find the Necronomicon that's been hidden away for all these years or whatever,
right?
And him and some other professor are talking, presumably at Miskatonic in Arkham.
Right, just lore dumping.
Yeah, and they're like, he's like, oh, well, when I went to this city of Innsmouth, it's a shore town and blah, blah, blah.
Right,
and I'm like,
the Innsmouth reference, even I know that one.
Jesus fucking Christ, man. I'm like, you don't have to do this. Why are we looking for the Necronomicon? There's already supposed to be a copy that Armitage has. It's just bullshit.
Right, and there's multiple copies, which I don't think they even mention that in the movie. Maybe they do. Correct me on that.
Well, we'll get there.
Sure.
But case in point is, it's not a good adaptation and it's not a good movie, and I suggest you skip it, or unless you want to torture yourself for an hour and a half.
If you're really fucking bored, you just have to know. But Joe warned you.
If you want supernatural cops versus, they keep calling them like demons, and I'm like, this isn't the same. Like, people get possessed, and I'm like, this isn't the same fucking. What are you doing?
Like they missed the whole point. Yeah.
So with that, let's get into Dunwich Horror 1970. Do you want to plot crunch this real quick, or would you like me to?
I want to hear this one from you, man.
Oh,
really? With this particular one. Maybe I'll do the next one.
Okay. 25 years ago, the Whateleys are part of this community, and they did some really nefarious shit. They worshipped gods and did practices that were, let's say, non-Christian and non-holy and blasphemer, if you will.
Right.
Worshipping deities from another plane of existence.
That may exist or have existed and still exist.
In eons forgotten.
Yeah. They may walk among us,
and
Joe.
with strange eons, death may die.
Time is door.
Time is a door.
Fucked it up.
Death is a door. Time is but a window.
Vigo is the joke.
Cthulhu will be back.
Yeah.
But yes, this incident occurs 25 years ago, where Wilbur Whately is born, and also with a twin brother,
who is stillborn.
Who is stillborn to their mother. The mother dies, and the grandfather is killed, and then the father is. Is it the grandfather?
This is very confusing.
This is confusing for the movie.
In the movie, they don't explain a lot of this till later, but the gist is the grandfather survives. The mother doesn't die. Her hair turns fucking white.
Well, the mother doesn't die, and there's the father. There's Wilbur's father and his twin brother's father, but he's not the father of the baby. Anyway,
right? It's confusing.
We'll get there.
Characters are excised, and it's barely explained.
Yes, Wilbur grows up. He is taught the rituals and teachings of his father, and following in his footsteps, and wants to obtain the Necronomicon to open the portal and open the gateway so that the old ones can come back to this earth and fucking destroy it.
As we find out, while he also kidnaps some woman against her will and just fucking gaslights her for 90 minutes.
Well, she's part of the
sacrifice.
She's the key question mark.
Yeah. The key master.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's the gatekeeper, man.
He literally is. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what Ghostbusters is playing on.
I mean,
right?
sure. I mean, yeah, but
Zool and Gozer and all that.
Sure,
shit.
but this is not.
It's not the same, but
the
concept-wise.
The things practiced in this movie, like as the rituals and shit, is not the shit from the Lovecraft lore.
Right.
That's why I mentioned Aleister Crowley, but we'll get there.
Sure. But that is the gist of the film, more or less.
That's the gist of the film.
There's a ritual.
Yeah. So we have a cold open, like Sean said. This woman's giving birth, Lenia Whately. The old man is there. He's supposed to be the father, and he's the grandfather character.
Sam Jaffe.
The
actor, who is... I said to Joe earlier, like, if you know what he looks like and you see this movie, like, oh, that fucking guy.
Yeah.
But he's like got this shock, like blown back hair, and like if you see him in other movies, he's way more recognizable. In
like
other
the
stuff.
day the Earth stood still. He's in. Even if you look, Ben-Hur, like he's in like huge. He was like a big actor.
Pretty big actor. Yeah. If you look up his Wikipedia page, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. That blown back hair, like Einstein. Yeah. But yeah, he's in that beginning like birth / ritual.
And immediately when you open up, it feels like Black Sabbath, which is interesting
by Bava, right?
Yeah, which is kind of interesting how they did that.
Yeah, and I had mentioned to Joe, if I didn't say it already, that I haven't ever read the short story it's based on, but I did listen to part of it on the way over here. Dunwich Horror, and it's just kind of crazy how different it is. And obviously, a lot of books are like that. They're never a 1-to-1 or rarely a 1-to-1. But like this is just kind of talked about in the short story, but it's kind of cool that you see it.
It's cool that you see it, but like after reading that, like it's something totally different.
Context is so different in the story. The way they kind of pepper the information out in this, in the movie and the book, is both kind of slow, kind of building up to something, but they both kind of are going in very different directions.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it keeps the essence of the book in terms of that.
It definitely does go back to that Rosemary's Baby.
The pacing and the mystery kind of thing.
Yes.
But it is a very Rosemary's Baby type deal.
Because of the pregnancy, and there's clearly something off about it. With they're in these black robes. The grandfather has like the staff with the insignia on it. It's not a fucking cross.
No.
It ain't some religion I'm known of.
No.
The Saga Goth or whatever the fuck
Yog-Sothoth. But like also like, oh god, that's a whole nother thing.
They also, because they have to have characters come back later. Which is not really a fault of the movie. They had to do what they had to do, and this is what, 1970.
Yep.
They have to like kind of like get younger actors for these characters that are going to be older for most of the movie,
and then they do like old makeup on them. Which is fun. I'm fine with that.
It's just interesting because I forgot about that which they're trying to make you forget about these things. It's part of the mystery of the film as these characters are reintroduced. You're trying to remember from the beginning, like, oh, were they in the ritual?
Yeah.
Oh, I think they might have been.
The babies are born, and then it cuts to this cool animated sequence, which is very akin to like, again, we just had Blackula before. It's this really cool music and like this whole thing where you see
it's like a blue screen with like animations kind of running through it.
Yeah, but this animation is akin to what is described in the story.
Oh,
where the grandfather takes her and like lets her lay with this entity, but in the story, in the animated sequence, it makes you think that it's like the devil.
Well, yeah, they even, now that you mention it, they even show some of the stuff on the hill in that animation, which is not even in the movie. So I wonder if they animated it based off the. Like, I wonder what they based it.
That's
off
what I mean. But instead of it being cosmic, eldritch horror, it's like
it feels more devil.
It's a devil. No, it's straight up. It's a devil, and that's something I don't really like about this movie. Is they kind of devil wash all of this stuff, and
that's why the Rosemary Baby analogy comes up.
100%, and that's why. I mean, I think they did that purposefully because it's the devil, the child of Satan, and it's like, oh well, here's another child of Satan, but it's not Satan.
I was gonna say, I wonder if that was a Corman suggestion or if that was something just from the get go. Even Bava, they gave them that. I don't know. That's kind of an interesting thing they kind of went with, though. When you have all this material, right? Maybe thought people wouldn't get it. You know, that comes up occasionally, even like with Thor. That's a more recent example. It's like, we had to wait till the early 2000s because people aren't going to understand an eldritch god. Not an eldritch god. A god, essentially.
The old ones.
That's too much for normal people. They won't get that. What?
Well, Satanism's for pussies, Sean. Okay?
Well, right.
We're talking about the old ones, the ancient ones, the ones that ruled the darkness and the cosmos before man.
The ones that came before Munchie and Pennywise,
yes.
Right.
Well, they were in there, but they came later.
Exactly. I kind of love it all, though. But you're right. It is kind of this very interesting animated sequence with just the names coming up, and it kind of ends like you would imagine, directed by yada yada, and we kind of fade into. I forget, do they even disclose the passage of time, or it's just an inferred passage of time?
I think it's supposed to be like 25 years. They mention it a couple times. I think because they say, 25 years ago. Yeah, because Wilbur's like 25.
Okay, by word of mouth. Okay.
Yeah, something like that. Or 22. It's either 22 to 25. Anyway.
Sure.
But we open at Arkham University.
Right.
And Ed Begley's there as Henry Armitage, and he just gave his first lecture on a series of lectures on the Necronomicon.
Right. And Dean Stockwell's in the back. Classic scene. We see this in a lot of movies with people giving lectures. I think Orca comes to mind. There's always someone in the back like,
Oh, he's fucking mustache twirling with his fucking rings.
His rings, he does. That's his famous move.
Well, this is like an Aleister Crowley thing. Famously, that famous Aleister Crowley photo of him with like the pyramid on his head and like the Order of the Golden Dawn shit and like him with his rings up to his head. So I'm like, they're like, I guess that's ritualistic, right? People can identify. I think it's because it's like, that's an unidentifiable thing at the time.
Sure, yeah, I get that now.
Associated with magic and witchcraft and all that kind of shit.
But he's giving this lecture, and I wonder what you're even thinking if you're a normie. I mean, that's like kind of some of the mystery element that Lovecraft put in these stories. Very different, like we said already. But just like, imagine being in that fucking class, being told, the old ones, and this was actually bound. I mean, I guess the Necronomicon isn't always bound in flesh. Is that like a thing that Sam Raimi came up
that's
with?
a Sam Raimi thing.
Okay. which then has sprinkled. Raimi influenced that. Now I see that in a lot of things where it's covered in flesh. But I was just thinking he's out there with the fucking flesh covered Necronomicon. Yeah, I translated this. I don't worry about the paper.
Inked in blood.
Yeah.
They're not Kandarian demons. They're even worse than that.
I just wonder what your notes look like. Like, what are you even writing down in there? Oh, Sumerian. Okay, yeah. This could be on the test.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just interesting.
Gozer worshippers, of course.
Yeah, well, right. Venkman and them. They're all there. They're listening. Well, Venkman's asleep. Ray and Egon have the notes.
Oh, yeah. They're taking the notes at the Armitage lecture.
He's got Louis Tully writing his notes. Venkman's going to get those later from Tully.
And just FYI, the Necronomicon in the Lovecraft verse is this ancient book that has all of the mad Arab Abdul's Azhalrid, I think. Is how you say that.
That sounds right. Yeah.
He credits him to writing, and it's the secrets of the universe and the ancient ones and the teachings and the rituals and all that kind of shit. That's Necronomicon is where Charles Dexter Ward gets the incantations to do his fucking thing. It's where the thing on the doorstep with what's his face, the sea captain. He gets his information from the Necronomicon to switch bodies and all that shit.
In the movie Necronomicon.
Well, no, in the story, the thing on the doorstep.
Right.
I'm saying these are Lovecraft stories where the Necronomicon is mentioned.
I was confused, but I got you now.
No, it's all good. And then, it has all the information about the gods and all that stuff, like Cthulhu and Yog-Sothoth and Shub-Niggurath and Nyarlathotep and all those fucking guys.
And I think I mentioned it in Reanimator, but I did play that game Sinking City, which is based on Lovecraft. That's Innsmouth is the location in that specifically, and they go into Dagon now that you mention it.
And Dagon's a whole nother thing. You know what I mean? And there's practices and sigils and all these things that tie all these stories together. It's the H.P. Lovecraft.
Sigils,
It's the H.P. Lovecraft
mythology.
It's literally the Cthulhu mythos.
Yeah. I just find it kind of interesting when it pops up in so many stories, and it makes sense when he uses them for those purposes that we're going to get to. It's just kind of cool.
Yeah, but Dunwich is a big. That's something I didn't mention earlier. Is a big portion. It's a big story in the Cthulhu mythos.
Okay,
specifically with the Necronomicon and bring the old ones back and all that kind of shit.
Got ya. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Once you read it or watch it, yeah.
So Sandra Dee is there. She plays Nancy, and she's kind of like Armitage's assistant or what have you for the time that he's there in town.
Yeah, I didn't write this down, but I did read that she was coming off like a deal with Universal where she did like 16 movies with Universal or some shit.
And they were all like shitty pictures.
She wasn't happy with it, and she thought this was going to be her big comeback, and it wasn't.
They were like, yeah, but you got to get naked, and she's like, no, I'm not doing that.
That was so fucking stupid. When we get to that part, I was like, okay, I'm all for like this woman feeling comfortable. Well, why did you get pitched that you were going to be naked and you took it, and then you were like, I'm not going to do that, even though you already signed me and we filmed most of the movie.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're fucked now.
Well, not necessarily, but yeah.
I'm sure it's a little bit more nuanced than that. I'm sure someone was holding her arm like, you got to agree to this, but you get what I mean.
So Dean Stockwell's there as Wilbur Whateley. Now, this is the first thing we need to address. Wilbur Whateley in the story,
what he looks like,
is this like 7-foot-tall, goatish-looking man.
Right.
So in my head, I always pictured like the rat guy from Captain Planet.
Oh yeah.
Like I always picture that in my head, but he has this big cloak, this long cloak that he wears, or long like trench coat.
Right, you only see his hands and his head, and even the head's like goat-like
and it's
yellow.
It's goat-like. He's got this weird complexion. He's not quite human.
Well, they also I don't want to keep saying the book, but it's relevant. Where it's also this thing where the book, the way it's set up, you're kind of following this guy's life.
Yeah,
and there's the whole thing where when he was 2, he already looked like he was 12 and all that.
Right. What I don't want to. We don't need to go into that because I just want to note the little things.
No, you're right. I'm just specifically bringing that up because it's kind of adding to the intrigue I have of this character that's not in the film.
Oh, yeah, he's super interesting.
Because it's just like a lot of those scenarios that they present in the short story, they try to replicate in this.
Super intelligent.
Yeah.
He grows really fast and clearly does not look like a regular boy.
Dean Stockwell could not have played it the same way. It would have had to be a completely different script if he did. I think he could have pulled it off. It would have been a lot creepier of a movie, but with what he's given, I think he does a good job instead of being this grotesque, creepy thing that speaks to itself in maybe human language, but we're not sure. Yeah. He's just kind of this guy who's, like I said earlier, he's kind of astute. He's always kind of watching and waiting, kind of trying to stick his nose in people's business at the right time.
He's almost got this aristocratic air about him.
He wears a suit.
Like the spoiled rich kid. Yeah. I almost like, he's akin to like, somebody like who's the guy from the new Hellraiser movie?
Oh, like the main guy.
The rich guy who's collecting all these artifacts and things and like looking into the occult. He's the rich kid with a bunch of money and wants to look into the occult.
Classic stereotype. The guy's got the money who's running things and hasn't realized how fucking serious. Well, that's the stereotype. He actually understands how serious this is.
Well, it's more. He's more like a prestigious person in this rather than like a bumfuck farm.
True. Well, you did mention that,
because like in the story, it's like a farm where they live. It's not this big fucking mansion.
Oh god.
Yeah, it's like this shitty like rundown place.
Well, the other thing I'll say about that until we get to her character though is there's also that detail with he is kind of like they don't say albino flat out because in the story his mother is straight up albino, whereas in the movie it's more implied that whatever happened in that opening when he was born caused her to go crazy,
caused her to go insane. Yeah, but we don't find out she's alive till like the end of the movie.
Yeah. Well, they say she's in the insane asylum.
Yeah.
But I just think that was also another detail left out because they're trying to change what they're presenting.
Yeah.
It works for what it is. I just to get that full thought out.
No, 100%. So he's there, and he kind of has this charismatic, woeful charm.
Yes.
Where he like gazes into Sandra Dee's eyes and like
he's like Dracula.
Basically, yeah, he's more like a Dracula character. He like kind of hypnotizes her almost.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He has this effect on her, which. He should, because he's an otherworldly, he's half otherworldly being.
I just wish that was a little clearer, but that's not really the direction
Well,
this
you do
goes
find
in.
out later, and then it all makes sense.
Yeah.
But, so he's like, oh, can I see the Necronomicon? And she's like, well, you're really not supposed to. It's really expensive. It's like one of a kind. And he's like, I just want to read it. Can I have it? And she's
it's under a glass case, by the way.
And she's like, yeah, I guess so. Here you go. And then her friend Liz is like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, it's priceless. And she's like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. He's just going to read it.
Yeah, they got a photocopier since the 70s. I think those existed.
Meanwhile, he like lays it out and he's like, ah, yes. And he's like reading the incantation and he's like, Yog Sothoth and all this shit.
Yeah. So he's got a paper with a pencil. He's rolling over. That's what he did.
So it's completely different than the story where he goes in and he's reading the book.
Well, he's got his own copy.
Well, he has a partial copy.
Yeah.
And he needs this copy but that's in the book.
Yeah. But I get what you're saying. You're trying not to just talk about the book. It's hard not to.
Well, what I wanted to say about it was like the incantations that he's saying in the book or the story rather is not this at all.
Oh, no, not
It has
at
nothing
all.
to do. I mean, I think Yog Sothoth might come up, but like it's definitely a Cthulhu-based thing.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's not what he says.
And they also do make a point here because that's not, again, it's not the point of the movie, but that this is like the only copy he can get, whereas in the lore, again, in the short story, they're even saying like there's multiple copies all over the place, all under lock and key. Maybe they're not all complete, but that's too much information for this to just, here's the fucking book that he wants.
There's just one, and that's all you need to know. He needs it to open the gate.
Keep it simple, stupid, right?
So...
Armitage, though.
Armitage comes over, and he's
like, what?
He's like, oh, excuse me, my boy, what have you got there? And he's like, oh, you got the Necronomicon. He's like, you're not supposed to be reading that. Can I please have that back? And he's like, well, can I just borrow it? I just want to read it.
Armitage is kind of smart, though, because even without him, like, really, really looking at what he's looking at, he could tell he's, like, on a specific page, actually scanning it, and is like, this shit is, like, not necessarily in English, and he's, like, just reading it very easily, and he's like, I'm just gonna borrow it over here for a minute. And he's like, nah, and he's not like, today.
He's like, yes, Mr. Armitage, I'm very familiar with your work. You wrote a paper about Dunwich and my grandfather.
About my family.
And he's like, oh, you're a Whately? He's like, oh my God, nice to meet you, even though I wrote that whole fucking piece about your folks.
The fucking hit piece. Nice to meet you. Wants to shake his hand. I don't think he does he?
No, he totally
does.
Okay. Yeah. And he's like, oh, nice to meet you or whatever. And he's
Spit
like,
on it first.
Yeah, but he's also like, well, I'm sorry. You just can't look at it. Right. Sorry about that. You can't study it or whatever because I need it for my thing. And then it's going back under lock and key.
Right, for his lectures. Which, a little bit better of an explanation why this is out in the open than HP gave, where it's just like, well, it's in the fucking museum, whatever. Well, there's a dog there.
The other thing is Armitage is just so, like, nonplussed by it. He's like, oh, you know exactly how to read everything in the Necronomicon? Where in the story, he's like, what the fuck? He's like, give me that shit.
Yeah, that is true. He has, like, a meltdown.
He has a meltdown. He's like, what do you think you're doing?
He's like fucking Luther in Mission Impossible. He, like, disappears for a move, and he's, like, working on this fucking device. That's Armitage. He's, like, going in the research, like, Gandalf. Actually, that's a better example. Gandalf at the fucking Minas Tirith, going through the archives, like, what does this mean?
Yeah, so he ends up like having dinner with Dean Stockwell instead of being like, get the fuck out of here, don't ever come back, don't even ask about this book again.
But he takes like his students with him, I guess, to feel more comfortable because they're all kind of getting chummy. Sandra Dee and that other woman. Elizabeth. I forget the actor's name.
Yeah, or Elizabeth is fine.
Yeah, and they're chit-chatting, and he's like kind of like trying to pick Dean Stockwell's brain a little, and he's not liking what he's hearing.
No, and he's like, huh, well, you can't use the book, you can't study it. And he's like, come on, Doc, just for a little bit. And he's like, no, it's not happening. I have one more talk that I'm giving, and then I'm headed home. You can't look at it. That's that. So he leaves.
He didn't think this one through, though.
Well, no, Wilbur's planning it all out. He's
I mean Artemage. He should have hung out and like made sure everyone got home in a cab.
He totally underestimated him, right?
Oh, big time, man. Well, he didn't look like a goat person, so he wasn't as worried this time.
So he's like, I gotta catch my bus, Miss Nancy, and she's like, oh my God, well, the time already passed. That bus is long gone. He's like, oh.
He waits till 9:50. My bus is at 9:15.
How about that? What shall I do? And she's like, well, I could drive you home. And he's like, no. And she's like, yeah. And he's like, okay, definitely, let's go.
Well, and she also infers, or may even say this to Elizabeth, that she thinks he's cute. And she's like, that guy? Weird Wilbur?
He looks like a fucking goat. What are you talking about? Maybe Dean Stockwell is how she perceives him, but he actually looks like a goat.
God,
that would be interesting. Yeah.
Right, Elizabeth sees the goat person and is like gagging off the side. She's like, smells like a fucking durian. But no, yeah, she drives him home, and she stops for gas after this long-ass drive. He's like, just make a left up here. She's driving for a while, and she's like, where's Dunwich? Keep going, keep going.
He's like, just keep driving. She's like, well, we're almost out of gas, so she stops at this gas station.
He's like, don't stop. She's like, oh, we're gonna die on the side of the road. We have to.
We gotta fill up. So this gas station guy comes out. He's like, okay, how much you want? He's like, we're closed. He's like, come on, just give me some gas. So
she opens her shirt a little.
Yeah, that's what happened. Sandra Dee gave him the old side boob. So he's filling up the car, and he notices Wilbur. Like, he's like cleaning the window, and he notices Wilbur, and he stops doing what he's doing. He unplugs the fucking gas. He's like, all right, get the fuck out of here. He's like, get out of here. And she's like, what's your problem? What's wrong with you?
Yeah. She's like, you only put $1.50 in. He didn't even wipe the whole windshield.
Aren't you gonna finish?
People around here don't like me. And it's like, there's clearly something deeper. Again, I'm mentioning Dracula kind of as the hypnotizing shit. But it is kind of like Dracula. This guy's like reacting like the villagers, like, oh, or Children of the Corn or something.
The family's fucked up, and they're doing some crazy shit that's unethical and not very good.
The context clues for the audience and for Nancy, I think is her actual name, Sandra Dee. But yeah, she just keeps driving this guy. He's like, it'll be fine. It's a little bit further.
I'd love to see Dunwich in the daytime. And he's like, yeah, the townsfolk don't like me and my ways. They're afraid of me and how my religion and the things that I do and all the rituals that I do, but that's okay.
And in fact, you can see it in the daytime. What'd you say? Nothing. Just keep driving. Ignore me.
Don't you want to stay for a drink?
Oh yeah, he keeps firing up. It's like, is this guy trying to get laid? What's going on here?
Well,
come on, you want a coffee? You want a hot cake?
There's a couple
pancakes.
There's a couple weird things. Smoking a pancake, bonging a blitz.
Exactly.
There's a couple weird things here because he has these two stones that are like kind of broken in half that he consults.
These green emerald looking things,
which are really cool. And I'm like,
the house.
I'm like, I want these fucking 70s Art Deco garbage fucking pieces. They look so.
They
great.
also have the house painted like the Addams Family. If you ever seen the TV show,
yeah,
for light, like they have like the pink wall, so it looks good on TV. It looks like that, like classic 70s, like green walls,
right?
And
there's reds and blues and all kinds of stuff. And again, it's this big mansion. It's not like this dilapidated farmhouse. It is old, but it's more like a Victorian style mansion.
It is a lot more like a shack that they're constantly building more to in the story.
In the story, yeah. So he's like, oh, would you like some tea? How about some tea? And she's like, fine, I'll have some tea. So he goes in there.
I got twisted that fucking arm.
Yeah. So he goes in there and he's making this tea and he puts, I don't know, fucking what, worm's wort or frog's breath or some shit in there.
Well, he tells her to go to the bathroom and this bathroom might be down the fucking street. This is like Piccolo leading Majin Buu to the hyperbolic time chamber in Dragon Ball. It's like he's walking all around the fucking building to give Goten and Trunks a few more minutes. Well, this mother, I'm just making that analogy because she goes to take a leak or freshen up. Yeah. He goes outside. He's like fucking with her car.
Sabotages her car, takes like the fucking wire out of it.
He comes back in. She's just like wiping her hands off like, oh yeah, big shit. No problem. I'm sorry. I blew the bathroom up. By the way, what's going on? Where's that tea?
And then he drugs her fucking tea.
With that, like, it looks like that, not marijuana, but that catnip shit. You get, like, in a tube sometimes. You give your cat, you put, like, on a scratch pad. That's what he keeps breaking out. I guess it's supposed to be like fucked up tea that's immobilizing her, but that's what I thought of instantly.
So he's making this tea, and before they sit down to drink it, like, she hears like this slopping behind this fucking door, which is really creepy.
On the second floor, right?
I love that so much about behind this locked door that she hears it. She's like, sound like the ocean. What was that? It was really this funny squeaky noise.
Oh my God. Then she like, does she go to reach for a door or this motherfucker just walks out?
Pops out because he's in that room.
Sam
Jaffe.
He's
like, there's not an interdimensional being in there. I was jerking off.
Yeah, I wasn't putting up new pylons to keep the roof from caving in. I absolutely was not.
I wasn't feeding his disgusting half brother that I'm waiting for it to grow.
Right. Again, read the short story for context.
Yeah.
But that's happening. She's like, I thought you lived alone. He's like, well, I never actually said that. You just kind of jumped to a conclusion.
He just goes, sort of. Anyway, here's some tea.
What is this, weekend at Bernie's? Like, what are we talking about here?
So she ends up like getting sleepy, and he's like, okay, I guess it's time for you to go. And she's like, my car won't start. And he's like, I don't know much about cars. Sorry about that.
Spoilers, he's actually an expert.
Yeah.
He knows the exact spot to pull out for the starter not to work.
So he's doing all this shit to this woman, gaslighting her like you were saying.
Oh, God, yeah.
And then he's like, well, I guess you'll just have to spend the night. And she's like, I guess so.
Here's this room I haven't used in like 15, 20 years. No cobwebs at all. No, clearly didn't clean it beforehand.
This fucking old musty-ass room. And he's like, by the way, here's a nightgown for you. It's like this black sheer nightgown that he
It just happens to fit, right?
Yeah.
Then she's laying in this bed like Morticia or some shit. Like, all right, this isn't weird at all. Then she starts having the dreams, Joe.
Yeah.
Or what she thinks are dreams.
Well, Gramps also talks to Wilbur, and he's like, why is she here? Does she know anything? How did she get... He's just like, shut up, old man.
Her car
You're going to
broke
shut
down.
the fuck up and just don't worry about it. So yeah, Nancy has this dream that she's like part of this ritual, and she's like running through the woods, and these naked people that are all painted up like this tribal shit are like chasing after her, which I thought was kind of curious. Now...
That made me think of like what I kind of said earlier. Again, maybe I'm wrong on this, but always kind of HP bringing it back to like the early tribes of either America or Europe. I'm not exactly sure if that's to be South America or what, but that's how I read it. Maybe that's where the Necronomicon originates, but I'm not as schooled in it, like I said.
Well, the first thing that I immediately thought of was like in Call of Cthulhu, there is a part where they're in Louisiana and these cops break up like this ritualistic thing that's happening, and they're all like they're part of the cult.
Sure.
This doesn't really have any bearing on that, but it's insinuating that it's like this ancient tribal kind of thing that's been around for centuries.
So again, kind of like a Ghostbusters thing, or even House Tour. It's just kind of always been there.
It's kind of there. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. It's always been ingrained in certain parts of human history.
Okay.
Secretly, of course.
I mean, I'm jumping to some conclusions by saying that. I'm glad you did kind of clarify that, because again, I've only really played a game and read a couple little things here and there, and you do see those things pop up occasionally. So like, he obviously had some kind of asphyxiation on like Mesoamerica or like that time period.
Yeah, and the cults and
cult stuff.
The cult stuff and how they're described in the stories range from like that to like not so.
They vary.
They vary in terms of how they're depicted.
Sure.
So it ends with her like going up to like this altar thing, and then she wakes up and she's like, oh my God. And her and Wilbur are talking, and he ends up like taking her out for the morning, and like they have breakfast and shit. And he's like, let's go for a walk. And she's like, I had a dream last night. He's like, was it about sex? And she's like, you know what? It was.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll get deeper into that, no pun intended, shortly.
And he's like, well, sounds good. How about you stay the weekend with me? What do you say?
Oh, stay the weekend, will you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I guess so.
Actually, that makes a lot of sense. And you know what? I think I will.
I'm not going to phone anybody because you don't have a fucking phone.
Well, meanwhile, Liz and Armitage are like on their way out there to Dunwich.
Where
and
the
they're
hell
like,
is she?
And she's like, Nancy never came home, never talked to me. You know, that guy's a fucking weirdo. I don't know about him. So they go out to the house.
And they also, even though we have talked about how like that gas station clerk was like kind of iffy around him. Like I think Artemis and Elizabeth might even talk about it here. Where they're like, yeah, Dunwich has or it might even have been Wilbur actually.
Has a dark past.
Dark past. The citizens don't like the Watleys or Whateleys, whatever the fuck. Whitley, Watley, suck my dickly. That family has a bad rep in the area, but Dunwich as a whole is kind of like one of these towns. Which makes me think of King, which, again, the influences make sense now.
Oh, yeah, it all kind of comes in.
Salem's Lot, where everything's just dying, it's being forgotten about it.
curious,
and Dunwich in the story, they even doubled down on that they don't like outsiders, so they let problems kind of fester because they'd rather just keep it in-house.
Forget about it.
Yeah. So it's interesting, that little extra caveat where Armitage knows all this, Elizabeth is familiar with it, so they know that it's bad that she's there, but they don't have any of the cards other than that.
For everything that Armitage knows, he doesn't know shit. You know?
Well, he has all that history on the family. You think he would know more, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. So
interviewed the grandpa or the dad or what have you.
Yeah, or at least the people that were there and witnessed what had happened.
And we do get, we might not be quite there yet, so maybe hold that thought, but we do find out what happened to his father eventually to add to that.
Eventually, yeah.
The mysticy of it all.
So Gramps confronts Armitage and Liz, and they're like, "Get out of here! What are you doing here? You can't be here! Get off my land!"
They're like, "Yeah, but our friend's car, it's right there."
Yeah. Meanwhile, Nancy's like still sucking down this drug Darjeeling. And she's like, you know what? I'm gonna stay the weekend with Wilbur because I wanna.
She's walking around like with a teacup, just pounding this shit.
She's like, you all right? And she's like, I'm fine. What do you want? I'm a grown woman. I can do what I want.
Her eyes are entirely dilated. Again, it's like cat marijuana.
Yeah.
Saucers.
Totally drugged.
Yeah. Overstimulated. She's running around. She's scratching the walls.
So Wilbur's just like, okay, fuck off now. And Armitage and Liz leave, and then he's still feeding her more fucking tea. She's like, man, I'm so tired. And he's like, oh, why don't you go take a nap or whatever?
She keeps saying that. I'm tired. I'm tired. Every time she starts to the eyes start to close, he's like, ooh, next evil scheme. Oh, yeah. Oh.
Then we get more of Gramps being like, why is she here? Yo, you gotta let the book be. Let the book be, Wilbur. And he's like, shut the fuck up. He's like, my father failed, but I'm not gonna fail. And you're like, what is going on here?
Well, you also get the vibe that Grandpa probably knows best based on the way that Wilbur's reacting.
Yeah, and what's funny about Grandpa in this is he's like a voice of reason, whereas he is the catalyst in the novel.
Oh, he is more your stereotypical, like, guy leading the next generation to do their bidding,
right.
Like evil pastor.
And he knows he's going to die, and he's like,
Wilbur,
you need to do all this shit. Here's all the stuff you need.
But go to page 751 in the complete edition as he's dying.
Yeah. But where in this, he's like, don't do that. He's like, we got to stop this craziness.
Well, and it's almost like he knows the plan, but it's never spelled out to the audience from his perspective. It's just kind of like you just said. It's more of like all cautionary from his angle.
Yeah. So Armitage and Liz are skeptical, so they go around and they're asking questions. So they go to the Dunwich newspaper and they're asking the guy there about some stuff.
He gets out the big ass paper from the day when the birth happened.
When the birth happened, and he's like, well, shit. That's all I know. I mean, I know the two boys were born. I guess.
I wasn't in the room now.
But you know who was?
Dr. Corey.
Dr. Corey was. Why don't you go talk to Dr. Corey? So they go see Dr. Corey.
And he's one of those characters that has the very clearly painted on hair, like the white hair. And I'm like, fuck, was he in the beginning? But they show a flashback of why he is like that, where he is like coming out of the room startled.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a second.
Okay, yeah.
We get a brief scene here. I just want to talk about it before we get to the Dr. Corey shit, because you get this backstory directly from Wilbur, and he's talking to Nancy, and they're walking around, and he's like, oh yeah, there used to be an oak tree right in the center of town there. That's where they hung my grandfather, and then burned the fucking tree down with him on it. She's like, oh my God, that's horrible. He's like, no, it's just history.
That's some dark fantasy shit,
it's like,
man.
Holy shit, man.
Oh my God, it's like out of The Witcher.
He hung there for like 7 days or some shit like that.
As like a statement kind of thing.
Or like didn't die or something.
Again, like Vigo, right? Yeah, death is but a door, time is but a way. I got it that time. I got it right that fucking time.
And he's like, well, why? She's like, well, why'd they hang him? And he's like, oh, well, he wasn't afraid of God or the devil for that matter. And she's like, well, what was he afraid of? And he's like, well, he believed in another race of beings from a different dimension, which is really cool that they actually come out and say that, and they don't just ride the devil's shit, which...
Again, now you're getting conflating kind
which is
of
on
ideas.
The surface of this movie, but like it's not necessarily in the script, right?
Yeah.
Somebody was like, you gotta have a fucking devil on there, baby.
Again, like I already said, it's probably just so more people get it without having to think about
Rosemary's
it.
Baby.
Audiences are stupid, Joe.
Yeah.
How many times have we talked about this? It's been a while, but audiences are fucking stupid.
What the fuck is this cosmic horse shit? What are the old ones or whatever? Nah, the devil is the devil.
That devil can't swing on the fucking streets. That's Spider-Man. What are you talking about? Cigar chopping executives killing us since the fucking 70s. Hey, actually, earlier, poor Judy Garland. Oh, my
forever,
God.
yeah, poor Judy Garland. So yeah, different beings from another dimension, superior to man, and basically his grandfather was trying to bring them back, which is Wilbur's what he wants to do. Yeah. He wants to fulfill the prophecy, or fulfill the wishes of his grandfather.
Old Wizard Watley.
Yeah,
Waitley. Fuck.
Waitley.
I'll get it next week when it won't matter. I'll have it right.
So we go to Dr. Corey's office, and Talia Shire's there.
Oh yeah.
By the way,
credited as Talia Coppola. She hadn't done the Nick Cage treatment yet. She's still trying to ride Coppola. Once Godfather hit, she's like Shire, Talia Shire.
Talia Shire. Yeah. So she's obviously from Godfather and Rocky.
But you can see it's one of her first roles. She doesn't quite have it figured out. She's getting
good.
there.
She's good.
I mean, she won the fucking supporting Academy Award for fucking Godfather.
Yeah. No, 100%. But that's not for a few years.
A couple of years. Yeah.
So so they're there and Talia's talking to Nancy, and she's like, "You're dating Wilbur Whateley?" And he's like,
she's the one that calls him Weirdo Wilbur. Yeah,
Weirdo Wilbur.
Right, not
He's never dated any girls from around here because we know better not to date the fucking nutbag up the street who worships Cthulhu or Yog Sothoth
or something.
Yeah.
Eyeball monster, or we're not exactly sure. Tentacle some kind of monster.
The Dunwich Horror TM.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That bush that was burning for Moses, that was not actually a bush burning.
We'll get to what that's supposed to be and all the minutia of that.
We're creeping towards it,
We're
Joe.
creeping. Oh, yes, there you go. So Armitage kind of gives Doc the rundown, and he's like, "Can I ask you a question?" He's like, "You believe in beings from another dimension?"
I read in this book that no one else has read.
Dr. Corey's like, "What?" And he's like, well, I'm looking into Wilbur Whateley. I forget that. I was looking into Wilbur Whateley. You know anything about that? And he's like, well, not any more than anybody asked me before.
He doesn't want to answer at first. No. He's like really pensive about it. Like, I don't know anything about that.
He's like, what's not weird about them? He's like, look, I need to know if you were there for the birth. And he's like, no, the truth is I wasn't there for the birth. Lavinia gave birth. They were delivered by the grandfather.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Which we saw in the opening.
And Corey had only. This is where we get the flashback of Corey going there because Corey was sent in to try to save Lavinia's life because she was dying. She had already birthed Wilbur and the twin, and he couldn't do anything for her. She was lost. She fucking went insane, which is a staple of Lovecraft films, and how your mind just fucking breaks.
Oh yeah,
you know.
I felt in line.
I mean, she gave birth to a fucking cosmic entity. So
that other baby that was stillborn, or something. Yeah, right.
Question mark. And he's like, you think the other baby could? If Wilbur survived, do you think the other baby could have survived? Maybe.
We've seen The Omen.
Yeah. So he's like, her insides were all torn up. There was nothing I could do to save her. But it turns out she didn't die. She's locked up in fucking Arkham Asylum. And he's like, well, we gotta go talk to Lavinia and see what the fucking deal is about Wilbur and the other stillborn baby.
Double-edged sword of watching the movie two days ago and then listening to the story on the ride-up. I'm getting wires crossed.
It's vastly different, because she totally dies straight up in the book.
The way she dies in the book is like, holy fuck.
Horrible.
It's like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. It's like, she's fucking nuts because what you just said. It's like, all right, that's different. I also do like that little detail in the book, but I get why they changed it here, where Armitage actually was the doctor in that delivered them, so that's why he would have written all that shit. It actually makes a lot of sense, but because of how the way they wrote this movie, it doesn't. They need this Corey character.
Which is why he's not as concerned about Wilbur, I think.
He doesn't know.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
He would have known.
Right.
Like, oh, fuck, that guy.
In the book, he's like, get the fuck out of here. He's like, don't you come back here.
Well, the book, when he finally comes to, look at the Necronomicon, and he's like, like we said earlier, he, is, thinking back, wait, there was that weird kid I get that was birthed, 10 years ago. What the it's coming together for him.
Well, he doesn't think about how big it is, because he's like, it's a man.
Right, anyway. Right. Regardless, now he's got the information.
Crazy shit for the 20s, man. Imagine reading Dunwich Horror in the 20s.
Well, that's why I always think about Frankenstein. It's whatever now, but when you saw that shit in the theaters when that first came out, oh my god, there's a reason why there's a guy introing it.
Well, for sure. So they go see Lavinia, and they're like, no, you can't go in there. You can't talk to her. She's too dangerous. She's violent. And Armitage is like, Lavinia, what's wrong with your son?
You can't go in there, but we're gonna bring you all the way to the fucking door and open up the food slot.
Yeah, and they're talking to her through it.
You can't go in though.
You can't barely make out what the fuck she's saying, but she ends with kill them all. She's like, kill them all, and she's got her fucking white hair. He's like, yeah, you wouldn't believe that she's only 45 because she's fucking white and just totally shot the fuck out. She looks like Henry Bowers, after he sees Pennywise.
Same that's what they're going for,
So Wilbur keeps feeding Nancy drugs. They're on a picnic, and he's like, come on, I want to show you something. It's the Devil's Hop Yard. You want to check it out? She's like, I guess. I'm really tired. Can we have to keep going? He's like, yeah, it's just up there. See that? And it's this fucking altar next to the sea.
Well, from her dream.
Which is really cool, yeah.
But yeah, now that it's actually reality, again, I don't want to just keep mentioning Ghostbusters, but they had to have been riffing on this the more I'm thinking about it.
Sure, but also, like, why didn't they, there's no mention of Cthulhu in this movie. There's no mention of, like, Dagon or anything like that.
It makes sense.
It's odd that they chose Yog-Sothoth. I think Yog-Sothoth is the father of Wilbur and...
In the short story.
In the short story, yeah. But... there's no mention, like, I think Cthulhu is like the commander of all these other minor gods.
Yeah, there's a whole passage where they talk about that. I think it's like the journal that Artemage translates of Wilbur later in the story. He's like reading all that. That's when he's sweating. That's when he's Gandalf and the Minas Tirith. He's like, oh!
Sure, but they took Yog-Sothoth, but they didn't take any of the other verbiage that Lovecraft had made up. Which is kind of, it's just kind of odd. You know what I mean? And it would make more sense if it was near the ocean for Cthulhu and stuff like that. So
no, you say odd, I say frustrating, but same sentiment.
So he basically tells her that fertility rites were practiced here, and she's like, "Is this an altar?" He's like, "Yep, sure is. Why don't you take a lay down on it?"
Yeah. Why don't you start stripping down, even though you said you wouldn't in real life?
Yeah, he's like, so lay down. So what would happen is they'd need a beautiful sacrifice, and they'd get them naked, and then they'd oogle their body, and then it was a good time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No goat feet's involved.
And she like grabs Wilbur, and she's like, "I got to tell you something about the sex talk we were talking about," because she's like, "I love sex. It's great with the right person and all this stuff." And she's like, "I got to let you know something. I'm a virgin." And he's like, "Yeah, I know.
I figured that out already.
I already knew that. Thanks."
Purely based on that first conversation, it was very obvious.
Are you comfy on the altar? Because you're gonna be back here.
Oh, are you getting tired yet? Are you falling asleep? Whatever do you?
Yeah. So she passes out, and he's like, "The old ones will return." He's like, "Yog-Sothoth, he's coming."
And that again, dream. I keep putting it in air quotes for audio listeners that she had earlier is now more explicit. Well, I guess we don't quite get there yet, but it starts to become more explicit that might not have been a dream. He might have like done this once already.
Well, she's passed out now. The sun has gone down. The ritual is about to begin.
Right. Well, I guess what I'm inferring. Is this the second time, or was that first one like a?
The first one was the dream, but this is what's actually going. This is actually happening.
So she precognitioned that, or there's a better way to put that, but you know what I mean. She saw it.
She saw it in her dream, but it's happening now. Well, what's funny you said that.
I thought it happened twice.
It's funny you said that because like in the stories, there's a lot of the old ones use people's dreams to contact them and talk to them and kind of influence them.
That's kind of
like the devil, but cooler.
Or like witches, hags and shit. Okay.
Yeah. So they're having this ritual, and these people in robes. Well, there's people in robes around there.
Yeah.
And
Rosemary's Baby again.
It's very Rosemary's Baby. Even for the conception scene,
literally same shot.
It looks like the same.
They had the screen on the side. Oh, we're gonna try to match this, but not verbatim.
But not the same exactly.
Left to the right, 1 inch.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, why the fuck? This is what I was talking about the Aleister Crowley sex magic and stuff.
Right.
Like, it doesn't really fit into the HP pantheon. It's kind of weird and out of left field. And then they need a virgin, and they're gonna fuck her on the altar, and then that's gonna open the gate. Like, that's not how this works.
And again, like she said, the character has to be naked, but she's just wearing that nightgown, and they keep focusing like on the side ass shot where you can kind of see in between the fabric.
But they also never show her face, so I think that's a stand-in as well, like a stunt.
So just go naked at that point.
A side stunt butt.
Just go fucking full nude. It's just stupid.
Well, they do show the boob a little bit when he grabs it, because he ends up fucking her, like raping her on this altar for the ritual. But she's all drugged up, so she doesn't remember.
Just cut the line about being naked then I'm like, then I don't care. Then it's something I don't even think about. It's like, she has to be naked, but we're going to have her wear clothes.
It doesn't.
So just don't fucking say that.
Well, that too, yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I'm being nitpicky, but...
Wilbur opens his shirt, and you see all of the before he puts the fiddle in the middle. He opens his shirt,
the tattoos,
and you see all the tattoos on him, and you're like, huh. One of the big things from the story that sticks out here is that when we get the reveal of Wilbur in the library,
what he actually looks like,
what he actually is under the coat, when he opens his coat, he's got fucking tentacles coming out of him, out of his stomach, and he has like goat legs and shit. He's fucking crazy looking.
And he has like a mouth or some shit.
Yeah, there's like a mouth and like tentacles and shit in his stomach.
But they also talk about throughout the whole story how they keep finding those cows and shit with the bite marks, and even some of the people, which is implied that that's how whatever this thing is, whether it's Wilbur or something else, it feeds.
Well, it is the other thing.
Right. But I'm saying
it's Dunwich Horror TM, yeah.
It's right, exactly. But same kind of way it eats.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And they don't do any of this. I would have loved to at least include this, even if they don't have the thematic ending where he gets killed this way. The dog shit. where he's afraid of dogs, I thought was very thematic in the writings.
It's really cool.
It's not even in here at all. Maybe they thought that was too much like Omen. Like, we'll steal from Rosemary's Baby, but we don't want to go too deep into Omen with the
Hounds of Hell,
the Dobermans. Yeah,
yeah, but the Dobermans were controlled by the devil. These are like in the story. It's more like they're attacking him.
Yes, well, right, yeah. I'm just saying. I wonder Corman's logic, what he was thinking. Like, this I could cherry pick from, but this I don't want to touch. Like, I just wonder about that aspect.
I mean, I feel like the changes were also budgetary. I mean, less special effects that you have to do. I'm not entirely sure why they did it with like the sex angle and the virgin angle thing. I mean, it's such a cliched fucking thing. Even by 1970, it's like, oh, okay, she's the virgin and she's being sacrificed for this ritual. It's okay.
I always go back to, we talked about Corman.
Yeah,
there had to be a reason, like you said.
No, the reason is it's familiar to people.
Yeah, cutting corners.
It's familiar to people, and it can make sense to people.
Yes.
Rather than just spitting a bunch of gibberish and then a fucking portal opening or something.
But then, like you just said, like they're basically inferring that it's devil for most of the movie, minus the Necronomicon, obviously. But then now we're moving into the territory where, I mean, we just described what's in the book. It's not in the movie, so you wouldn't know that. But we start to move into like, well, what's actually in there?
Well, you can't have the Dunwich Horror without the Dunwich Horror.
So they have to put it in
there.
So
they have to put it in there. And the way they do it is pretty smart, actually.
That's actually kind of one of the better parts of the film.
Especially for like 1970. Yeah. I think it's done pretty well, especially the way it's described in the story. It's like, okay, well, how the fuck do you do that?
Well, but he's having this whole like rape ritual. Meanwhile, Artemidge, I think, is doing research, and Elizabeth goes back to the fucking house on her own.
Well, she goes back to the house because she's trying to get Nancy. She wants to bring her back. She's just going to take her, right? Because she's been gone all weekend and even longer. I think she's been there for a week at this point now.
Pour one out for fucking Elizabeth. That's the friend you want, man.
Yeah, seriously.
Ride or die.
She fucking runs up the stairs, man, and right to the locked fucking door where all the shit is sloshing. Now, this is
that's the only noise she can hear.
It's a cool scene because it's really creepy as she's making her way, and you hear like just this fucking gross sound. And she opens this fucking door, opens it up, and you get to see the Dunwich Horror.
The way they did it's kind of interesting. I would have preferred something else, but for what they did, I like it.
Right. So in the movie, it's like this big ball of fur with a mouth and like these snake tendrils. Kind of looks like the thing on the cover a little bit, but not really. And these snake mouths like get her, and the way that they cover up the special effects and kind of do this weird cosmic thing, or like the Dunwich Horror vision, quote unquote, is like this psychedelic kind of color palette, almost like Dario Gil and the Little People effect when they do the Banshee shit. It's like kind of like that. It's like reds and blues, and it's like
a strobe effect.
It's cool, and there's like this weird sound and shit that accompanies it and stuff.
It just I don't even know what it does. I guess it's eating her.
It eats her.
It just fucking goes out. She's screaming.
It eats her for sure, and it eats the other people. But again, there's not a lot. It's not a gory thing. There's like no blood in this movie.
It just pushes her to the ground, and that's that.
And eats her. Now in the story, the Dunwich Horror is this.
It's this gigantic
invisible monster.
Oh, it is. Oh, they do mention. I didn't get through I didn't mention this before. I only listened to like the first 2/3 of it because I ran out of time. I got here. But yeah, they do talk about how it's got giant tree trunk legs and a lot of them.
So it's got a giant. It's a giant invisible monster. It's like it's not a Shoggoth, but it is now a Shoggoth in the Lovecraft lore is an amorphous monster with like 1,000 eyes on it and like all this crazy shit.
I'm pretty sure that the literal one of the gods in Elder Scrolls is called Shoggoth, which is literally a bunch of eyeballs.
A Shoggoth is like a minor monster in the Lovecraft lore.
Okay.
I mean, it's still great. Like it's still it's still super powerful and will kill you and do all that shit. But it's more like at the Mountains of Madness, the Shoggoths are more like the pets or the guard dogs of the elder beings that are there.
Okay.
So
I've probably seen them in other things or Lovecraft games or what have you. Yeah.
They get chased at the end of that story by a Shoggoth, the two guys in the Antarctic expedition. Antarctic expedition, alien things.
It's kind of like the thing. Yeah.
Almost like John Carpenter was influenced by H.P. Lovecraft, too.
Wow.
We talked about that.
Yeah, no, I know. Like we've never mentioned that one before.
Yeah. So, it's not a Shoggoth, but it's got like all these crazy tentacles, and it's got these giant fucking legs and these big... They're described as elephant-type feet.
Right, I keep saying tree trunk. But
and elephant-type feet, meaning the imprint that they make on the ground is circular.
Right.
So it's this giant invisible thing. Nobody can see it, but they can hear it, and they can see the prints left by it.
Right, and in the story, like we kind of talked about earlier, where it's different, where it's like a shack or something. They're constantly building the house to make it bigger to hold this
fucking thing, and it like explodes out of it.
Right, and it only even escapes because the grandpa dies, and then now like Wilbur kind of like loses control because he can't get a copy of the Necronomicon, and then he gets quick enough, and he gets killed. So now it's just kind of left there to its own devices, and now like everyone's fucked.
And well, Armitage has to.
He figures that out.
Yeah.
But.
So
it's just that situation where, like, oh, it was already really bad, but now the thing holding the worst thing at bay is now gone, so now you're all fucked. Like,
and they kind of do that a little bit here,
a little bit,
which I kind of like. So I
like that framing device in things though, where you think, oh, we got rid of the big bad. No, he was actually the minion. Oops.
No, exactly. So Grandpa, Liz dies, and Wilbur's back at the house, and they have like one more altercation where he's like, "Oh, I know your plan. You can't succeed. They're broken you and all this shit. But the old ones are gonna come back. You know what I mean? And your father tried, and he destroyed your mother, and I destroyed your mother, and all this shit. You can't." And he's like, "But I won't fail.
I know better,
Grandpa."
He then like trilogy of terrors this motherfucker.
Oh, he throws him down the fucking stairs. Grandpa takes the dive. Yeah,
I didn't think that would kill him, but apparently it does.
Now, this was something cool from the story, too, is each time somebody dies from the Whately family, the whippoorwills sound outside. So you hear the birds outside, and they go in tune or in beat with their breaths, their last dying breaths, which is a really creepy thing that I'm glad they kept for this.
Yes.
They say birds, but it's their whippoorwills.
They don't explain it as well as HP did, but the concept's there, and they're going to take your soul. Yeah. If they're still chirping after you die, that means they got it. If they're quiet, they didn't get it, which is a reoccurring theme in the story. Yeah. Whereas in the story, it's like the grandpa keeps bringing that up, and they didn't get his soul. They didn't get his soul.
He's all good, but now I'm gonna go bury his ass. So without like issuing a death certificate or anything, he goes to like the Christian cemetery. Why would he do this?
Bad writing,
I guess. The
shock value.
Well, you need the altercation, right?
Like, you need to introduce the rest of the villagers, right? The Dracula villagers.
Exactly.
The rednecks.
Yeah. So Wilbur goes to bury his grandfather in a Christian cemetery, and he's doing this crazy fucking ritual where he's like grounding this powder up and like pouring all this shit in, and like obviously doing this magic ritual thing.
This satanic shit, which will like say what you will, how you feel about that, but like I don't know how any Christian would feel about a Satanist for just to make an easy comparison.
Well, they don't want him there, burying him in the fucking ground with all their other
kind of makes sense. Yeah. He's just doing it to be an asshole, and like he doesn't say that, like, but he's like, I'm just trying to bury my grandpa. What's the big deal? It's like, come on, buddy.
Dude, it's great because the villagers show up and they're like, we don't bury our trash in the grave. You already put it at the town dump.
They start throwing all the shit on the ground. He's like, my ritual.
He's kicking it over and shit. Well, I mean, he's obviously worshiping some kind of crazy fucking monster or demon or Satan or who they don't know.
The ghoulies.
Right? They come out of this guy's toilet.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Wilbur Whately summoning those demons out of that fucking toilet.
He definitely has the page. He hasn't tried it yet. He's too busy focused on this sex thing that he read before with the hands on the side of the head.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The three ghoulies, they're sex maniacs. They go to that college and they're fucking with all those people.
Well, that's where the other Necronomicon copy was, right, Joe?
The comic book version, yeah.
No, God.
No, the other Necronomicon version was in the Cellar Dweller, and Jeffrey Combs had that. We'll talk about that in Necronomicon.
Yeah. There's actually quite a few floating around. Like I said, Elder Scrolls. Well, maybe I didn't say Elder Scrolls. The actual Elder Scrolls and Elder Scroll are basically Necronomicon.
Essentially.
Same idea.
So Wilbur and Nancy go to break into Arkham or Miskatonic U, or I don't know if it's Arkham University or Miskatonic University, one of them.
Yeah, it's one of the
other.
The
Arkham Library, ? One of those.
She's just going along with it. I know she's basically hypnotized, but
she's fucking totally looted out in the car, man. She's just like, yeah, I ate all those MDUs.
Right, go back to the Body Melt episode for that reference. They slow you down is the point.
So this is from the story too, because he goes in to steal the Necronomicon.
This is when he's revealed, like we kind of talked about.
This is when he was revealed before, and he gets killed by the dogs. So Wilbur goes in to steal the Necronomicon, and he has a fucking knockdown, drag-out fight with his guard.
The security guard!
It's great. There's no music. It's all quiet, and they're just beating the shit out of each other.
I couldn't believe how long this fight went on. This is like fucking They Live.
It's pretty... Give me
not that bad.
Give me the book!
I was expecting him to just shoot this guy and call it a day, steal the book.
It's a pretty good build up, and he like ends up taking like a fucking like a pike from a suit of armor and like stabs this guy through the chest.
This cop's a fucking idiot. The security guard runs right into this thing.
Dude, cop kebab, dude. Mm-hmm.
Just sidestep that shit or just stop running. He's dead either way. And Dean, he instantly goes back to the task at hand, breaks the Necronomicon out. The fucking alarm's going off.
Yeah, and he makes out with it, dude. He's totally out of there. Next thing you know, Corey calls Armitage, and he's like, by the way, Lavinia's dying up at the psych ward, Arkham Asylum. And he's like, shit, I'll be right there. We gotta know why.
The planets have aligned, Joe.
Oh, the planets are all lined up, and it's all happening, dude, because she's spitting fucking all kinds of crazy shit.
It's Halloween, that's what it is. Just like the story, they just don't say that. She feels the rumblings underground. She's getting off on it.
Well, she's seeing all these crazy psychedelic colors and shit, and she's like babbling in the different language, and she ends up dying, and you hear the whippoorwills again, which is cool. They do it for her, too. And Armitage is just like, oh, I get it now. I don't know how I put it together, but I put it together that Whately's going to the library to get the Necronomicon to open the door for the old ones. I even though I said it like 7 times in the movie, it's finally happening.
And someone off camera, was that Daniel Baldwin just handed me a map to the altar? I better get over there.
Oh, Daniel Baldwin's got a copy, dude. I think Baby printed it out for him, yeah.
Daniel Baldwin, for longtime listeners, you know he always has the script to every movie on hand in case someone loses a line or isn't sure what to do. He's always there ready to hand it over like, this is what's next, folks. I would know. Get in the goddamn car.
So we have this whole ritual again at the Devil's Hop Yard. Now, there's no sex involved in this, but Dean is doing like all of these things with the knife and the powder and all the bullshit, and he's
spinning it,
and he's like doing the things with his rings and his head, and I'm like, it's all very Aleister Crowley-esque. Like somebody read that or saw him do that, and we're like, okay, that's what he's gonna do in this scene. Go.
And now that you mentioned that, I'm remembering him like spinning I keep saying swords, the daggers. He was doing that kind of at the graveyard too. But so like, maybe that's why that's in there to be like, oh, when he does it again, you know he's doing a ritual. But
100%. But what I'm saying is like, it's more influenced by Crowley than it is by Lovecraft.
Based on his story, right? That's weird.
And even the things that he's like saying all this nonsense and then Yog Sothoth, and it's like not like
the story at all.
Cthulhu Fhtagn or any of that shit. It's none of that.
Which was all there, I'm sure, in the stories. They could have just pulled it right out of.
Oh, it's there. You can pull it right out. Flingui, whatever the fuck it is. Like it's all there.
And you said that Dean was a fan of the work, so I mean, again, like you said, he's got to get a paycheck, but I wonder what's going through his mind. Like, I think he tried to ad-lib a few that were closer to the material, and they're like, no, Dean, keep to the script, please. Yeah. He's like, yeah, but that's what he would really say.
So in the movie, which he doesn't get to do in the book, he actually makes it to the thing, and he's like, okay, I got the Necronomicon, I'm all ready to go for the ritual. Come on, brother, I summon you from the house. Come here so we can finish this ritual.
Which was the original plan, but, you know, they never quite get there.
No, so this thing fucking breaks out.
In the story, I mean.
In the movie, it breaks out, and now it's running through the countryside. Now, this is cool. Now, again, this thing is invisible, so I like how they do this with, like, the wind blowing through the grass and the trees. The only thing that I wish that it could have made it better is if they made those big elephant-sized footprints.
Yeah, get one close-up shot. That's all
that would have been great. Or like fucking in Clash of the Titans where you see Perseus' feet when he turns invisible. Like, do that with this. Also, you could have made this thing stop motion. I know that's, again, it might be going over budget, but, like, that would have been really sick.
The problem, too, is just not to keep saying that, but like in the original too, this thing's fucking gigantic. I don't see how this thing can be bigger than like human size with the way it's presented here.
That's what I mean. Even when
they talk about how it's stepping on trees and shit.
Even when it attacks Liz, it's like, oh, this thing's too small.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a threat, but
it comes up to the farmhouse of one of the guys. His name's Rieger.
Yeah, one of the townsfolk.
Oh no, it's not Rieger. It's some other guy because it comes up to the house. It like fucks with this guy's barn and then like smashes the house and like kills the 2 people that are inside.
Which is from the story, kind of referencing it at least.
Eating cows and shit and fucking up the farms. So Armitage is making his way out there with Corey. And he's like, oh, what the fuck's going on? Let's go over there. So he pulls up, and the sheriff's there, and all the townsfolk are like, oh, they're all dead. Look what happened. He's like, what caused this? And Armitage basically convinces them to be like, look, there's a monster out there. The only one who could stop him is Wilbur. So let's go to the Whately place. And they're like, well, fuck yeah, let's kill the Whateleys.
Well, I guess the altar's somewhere on their property. That does make sense.
Yeah. So they go to the house to do it. But what they didn't realize was on its way out, the fucking Dunwich Horror TM fucking knocks something into the fire and the whole goddamn house goes up. So they pull up to this like inferno. It's like the Marston house.
Oh god, yeah, in the movie version. Christ, I still can't believe that was on the fucking book cover. Doesn't even have it in the book. Damn it.
Then there's just like there's a couple throwaway scenes here, a little bit more with the Dunwich Horror where like the nurse Talia, the nurse is like driving and she's like eating something and then like crashes and then is killed by the Dunwich Horror.
I was lost during this scene, I gotta say.
They're like, we gotta up the body count. Whatever, there
Chucky's
she goes.
in the fucking seat. We just didn't see him. He loves to go after people in cars or the killer clowns. Larry the Larva. Could it be any one of them, honestly? Because this death was just like, well, like you just said, Talia Shire's gotta fucking die.
Yeah.
All right.
I guess. So they all roll up to...
Well, there is one scene before that makes her character kind of important. You may have said it, apologies, but when Artemis is trying to figure out where Nancy could have went, Talia Shire's like, oh, I was chit-chatting with her, and she mentioned this, yada, yada.
She mentioned it, but Corey's like, oh, did you hear something about that? And she's like, no. And he's like, nope, nothing.
Okay, yeah. She might get killed literally right after that.
Yeah. So all the townsfolk go up to the Waitley place, and Armitage's like, we gotta go. It's going to Sentinel Hill. We gotta go up to Sentinel Hill. Let's go. And the whole battalion of townsfolk roll out into the woods, and first Rieger gets picked off.
Right.
Like the guy who was like kicking all the shit over at the funeral and telling him he's trash and all that stuff.
Just desserts. When honestly, this guy's a fucking devil worshiper.
Sean, they're trying to bring the fucking old ones back to destroy the earth.
Yeah, well, we need drama. I'm not saying I'm against it. It's funny when the shoe's on the other foot, you know?
So, kills his ass, and then it's like this helicopter shot, I guess to show you how big this thing has gotten. And it's like looking down, and it's all different colors, and then you just see people start dying. Like, all these people start dying.
That. I was so confused. I don't know. The invisible thing just didn't click in my head.
Yeah, it's like a giant invisible monster, and the way that they portrayed in the film is like with the psychedelic colors and it like looming over them and the wind blowing and people just dying because it's supposed to be invisible and you can't see it.
I mean, I understood. I'm not an idiot. I knew that it was killing them. I just was confused how.
Yeah, sure.
That makes
the
more
snake
sense.
things are probably biting them and killing them. I don't know.
Right, yeah. Or its eyes just make them die because it's an eldritch horror.
So they all die, and Armitage and Corey make it up to the Devil's Hop Yard, and Wilbur is still doing the chant. He's almost done with it. And then like there's this weird thing, which I think is where the Dunwich Horror remake got this from.
Oh, this particular section.
Because Wilbur like pushes him away with like some Doctor Strange fucking powers, Armitage, and then Armitage is like chanting some random thing that's like fucking up his Wilbur's chant.
Yeah, like an anti-curse.
Don't even know what he's saying or what it is. It has nothing. It has no bearing on any of the things. There's no elder sign.
It comes out of
there's
literally.
There's no elder sign. Nobody's doing anything. Nobody's being protected. There's no runes. There's no Armitage reading from Necronomicon to put this thing away.
Right, even if he had like scraps of paper to infer that that's what he was doing. No, he's just saying randomly the Latin or I don't know what the term would be. Cthulhu writing bullshit.
Rillian.
There you go. I'm not even going to try to say that.
I guess the writing of Rillier, which is like the ancient city where Cthulhu is locked up at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just kind of like one of those ones where it feels like they had to end the movie and this is what they landed on. Because, like, he says a few words and it just feels like it instantly completely stops everything Dean Stockwell's been doing for like a week. Like, that's all it takes.
And Dean Stockwell's like, oh, fuck. And he's like, ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ah, ting, tang, walla, walla, bing, bang. And then he fucking, like, explodes into an inferno.
It flies off the cliff.
And he's just like, ah! And he, like, falls down the cliff and dies.
The only thing missing is the sequence from the end of Don't Torture a Duckling where it hits each rock on the way down.
Then the Dunwich Horror just like appears behind Nancy. Like it finally reveals itself. So in the story,
and Artemis doesn't go insane when he sees it. But continue.
In the story, Artemis reads from the Necronomicon to reveal the Dunwich Horror, and then they see it, and he's like, "Oh my god!" And he goes insane. He stops it, but goes insane. But in this, it just like appears and then dissipates. It just like a fart in the fucking wind. It just blows away.
I mean, the movie doesn't have much of a ending. It just kind of ends. So if there was anything else going to happen, we don't fucking see it anyway.
Corey's like, what was it? And he's like, it was a being caught between this world and another. And I'm like...
So they got that in there.
Sort of, yes.
So like that's a good line. Keep that from the book.
I guess that's like, let's explain that because...
Everyone's confused about why everyone just died.
About why he just went up in flames and fell off a cliff and why this thing just disappeared out of nowhere. From you saying, like, hocus pocus and he disappeared?
Well, you think that, like I just kind of said, you'd think that would be the end of it, but we have to have this final fucking scene after Armitage thinks everything's said and done because, Wilbur had really strong swimmers, Joe.
Well, Armitage is like, yeah, they were twins, Corey, like you told me before. Wilbur took after his mother, and that other thing took after the father.
Right.
Yog Sothoth.
Yog Sothoth, right. Again.
Not of this earth.
He didn't look like a goat person with tentacles on his tits. He's just a regular guy with a bad haircut who got blown off a building
And a
by
mustache.
some words. Yeah, and a mustache.
But like you were saying, yeah, it ends like the end of fucking Elves, dude. It like goes in and to her stomach, and she's pregnant. He's like, thank God all the Whateleys are dead.
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah, they do the close up. Yeah, it's like you know what it is like from Dusk Till Dawn when they show the woman in the trunk. It's like one of those shots.
Oh yeah, it's like the fetus.
Yeah.
And you see the fetus, and you're like, okay, so like,
and that fetus is growing. Talk about what they took from the story but didn't use. They decided this time, one day after she got fucked, this fetus is this big.
Yeah.
Like the story version of Wilbur. It gets really big fast.
So they kind of fit it in there, but in a weird way.
Well, they just did that because you wouldn't know it's a fetus if it's just this tiny ass ball in there.
Wait a second, aren't we making a Rosemary's Baby movie? Put that baby in there.
Put it in a carriage and show it for like 1 second right at the end and have a weird reaction to it.
So yeah, man, and then it just wraps up. So so where are we putting the Dunwich Horror?
Oh
1970?
man, that's dumpster.
Dumpster.
I was not a fan of this one. A lot of things I liked about this film was honestly like the set pieces, like the actual the design of a lot of things in this film, and I liked Artemage quite a bit. I kind of wish he was more in it. And then like when I listened to that story, the original story, and you find out he actually is a lot more in the original. He is, but he isn't. You get my point.
Yeah.
I wanted more of him. And just for me, Dean Stockwell, he plays his part well, but because he's playing, again, what he was told to do, this kind of stoic character, I'm just kind of like left checking my watch a lot. And I hate to say that because it just says like, oh, Sean, you're just being a pain in the ass. But it is what it is. Some of those conversations he has with Nancy, they are important, and they're trying to just continually show how bad this woman's getting hypnotized, or her basically her life's getting ruined.
Yeah.
And I get that. But for me, I was just I was over it. I was like, I get it. He's going to rape her. He's going to turn her into some kind of demon baby's mother or something. Or the portal's going to open, and out comes the Elder God.
Yeah.
That was what I was interested in, and then it just kind of ends in a very strange fashion.
Abruptly.
Even for a Lovecraft adaptation. Just odd. I definitely would give this one a second shot, because there's definitely a few things that we talked about that maybe went over my head, like the monster being invisible. Just even with listening to the story, that just didn't really click for me.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of a big advocate on just watching something once and kind of walking away from it. But like we've talked about in the past, sometimes those second viewings can make or break a movie. So maybe I got to return to this down the line. But I don't know, man. Sometimes these 70 films, I think they're some of the best movies ever made. And other times it's just, there's too many little things for me personally that pile up. And I can't get out of my head that this was made 50 fucking years ago. I start to apply today's problems to it. I try to detach myself from that, but it is hard. And anytime I read a book or hear a book, in this case, the original work that's better than the thing I just watched, I don't know. It's hard for me to get off that little hill, off the soapbox. It's just in the back of my head. I can't help it. But even before I listened to that, I wasn't hot on it. That just kind of solidified my standpoint. So definitely check this one out if you haven't seen it. But to go into it knowing it's not like the story, other than those little things we talked about. Wish it was better, but in the dumpster. Recommend it, but didn't like it.
Sure.
It wasn't like, oh, God, what a piece of shit. I was just frustrated while watching
Sure, understood. This one's on the shelf, for sure. It's still, in my opinion, the best version of the Dunwich so far.
Well, based on that remake, it sounds like it.
Yeah, and, like it's not offensive to me. Like, does it follow everything to the story to the T? No. Is it vastly different? Yes. But I don't think it's necessarily bad. Like, I think Dean Stockwell's performance is really fucking good. I like him as Wilbur Whately. It doesn't make any sense because he's like he's like a weird monster guy in the story, but like the way that they kind of dress him up for this and the time period and what we're doing at that time with horror movies and American International Pictures.
It was kind of like what we said. It's not, I don't mean to interrupt you, but like Salem's Lot, I did mention that a couple times, but like you talked about why that was such a big movie at the time, and I was kind of hung up on the things I liked, but I understood, well, you don't want to just do the Dracula that you see in everything. 100%, I understand why they changed it, even if I like the book better. So I get why things do change.
It's a case where they can both exist, and I like them both for different reasons. But again, this has that 60s, 70s American, AIP or Amicus feel to it, which I think is really neat, especially for a Lovecraft adaptation, because everything after this, well, not everything after this.
A lot of it, though.
But everything after this is hyper contemporary.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
And like Reanimator is its own thing. From Beyond is its own thing. And like when we get into the Charles Band era of Lovecraft adaptations, they're awesome, but they are something also completely different.
Sure.
You know what I mean? They're not necessary. I love those movies, and I've said this before. I love Stuart Gordon's Lovecraft movies, but I don't necessarily think that they're good Lovecraft movies.
You might even have said that on the Reanimator episode.
Like, I think people that have tried to adapt his work still haven't really nailed the feeling of the stories quite yet. I mean, the Lovecraft Historical Society had done Call of Cthulhu, and they did Whisperer in Darkness, and those are more like, they try to do like throwback things where it's like, it's black and white, and it takes place in the 20s, and it's very, see, kind of like that. And I'm not hugely a fan of the period piece type things for Lovecraft.
Leaning a little too much into the time period.
Yeah. Whereas like Dan O'Bannon's The Resurrected kind of did a blend of making it new, but keeping it in tune with the story.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And keeping the horror there and keeping it creepy, I guess.
Well, that's
not to say that From Beyond isn't creepy. I think From Beyond is easily Stewart's like best Lovecraft adaptation, even though it's not totally like it. But that has a lot of stuff in it that is more on the level of the cosmic horror. Right. And really hits it home, and I think they do a really good job in that too. But as far as Dunwich Horror 1970 goes, it gets in its own way, especially, being a cash-in of Rosemary's Baby and being, the basis of that being of why it was made.
I wonder if you just saw this without seeing Rosemary's Baby, if you would actually have a better time.
Not necessarily, but like I just don't. It like cheapens the overall experience of the Dunwich Horror, because like it's
now you're just like that Rosemary's Baby ripoff.
Yeah, well, right, because
if you don't know better,
there's so much more to that short story, and we talk about the old ones and the ancient ones and the elder gods in this movie, but we don't really explore them that much.
It's like window dressing.
It's window dressing for like this very basic virgin sacrifice ritual.
Well, and I guess just maybe I didn't say this, but that's my other thing is like I went into this Dunwich Horror, heard the name many times. I don't want to just talk in a circle here about what I did and didn't know about H.P. Lovecraft, but it's not what I expected at all. And not that has to be what you want is not necessarily what you get isn't always a good thing or bad thing, but it was just like wildly different than what I was expecting, because there isn't any of that, or it's so limited.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, there's the monster. It's kind of in there.
Right. I give it a pass though, especially for being the 70s. It's very of its time, and it looks of its time, but that's why I like it. Yeah. It's got this coziness to it that I really like. It's a 70s horror movie, early 70s horror movie, or might as well say 60s because it's 1970. It's the 60s. It's a 60s horror movie.
Yeah, all that stuff still bleeding in hardcore.
Yeah, hardcore until at least like 72, 73. So I think it's a good movie. I think it's shot really well. I love the music in this movie. And
music's
again,
great.
It's paced fine for me. I think it's good. It's a good kind of whodunit, good mystery, how it unfolds. And I think that's what I said earlier. Like at the core of it,
at the Roger Corman of it.
I've
been sitting on that for a while.
Oh my god! At the Roger Corman of it.
You said it earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt you.
If you really strip away the big differences, I think it follows the line pretty straightly.
You know what's funny too? I had texted you after watching it, and I read the synopsis of the story on Wikipedia, like the original story, and it did seem like it lined up.
Yeah.
When you read or listen to it, it doesn't, but like those major beats are kind of there.
They are there, but they're just interpreted in a different way, which is why it's also fine for me. I think it's a weird kind of psychedelic Lovecraft piece, and I also love it for that too.
Sure.
I don't know.
Extra charm.
I think it's a good time, and I think it's good for what it is. Now I mentioned Richard Stanley earlier.
Right.
And he had done the Color Out of Space remake, which has already been adapted, like we said. Die Monster Dies, the Color Out of Space thing. The Curse with Will Wheaton is a Color Out of Space adaptation, which we should totally do soon.
That's a great movie.
It's really fucking good. But then, you have the Color Out of Space by Richard Stanley, which was really good with Nick Cage.
Even the segment in Creepshow.
With
Stephen King, that segment.
The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill is very Color Out of Space-esque, but direct adaptation I'm talking about. So Richard Stanley does Color Out of Space, and then his follow-up was going to be his version of the Dunwich Horror.
Oh man, we talked about that a little bit when we covered his Dr. Moreau. Wow, not his movie, but the one he was working on with Tony.
And we didn't cover Color Out of Space, but I did want. We're gonna do.
It's a good movie.
We're gonna do Hardware, and we're gonna talk all about Richard Stanley and all that stuff. But
I was just gonna say because he had that weird publicity where he was getting sued. I don't think anything ever came out of that.
We kind of skirted it because he had allegations of sexual or abuse or domestic abuse.
But
or
I'm
something.
just saying, I wonder if that's why Dunwich fell through.
I think so.
Is it still happening?
I think so because he really got a lot of shit for that at that time, and I think it's been disproven and he was acquitted or whatever.
Yeah.
So his Dunwich Horror I would have really liked to see. I hope it still gets made.
Especially if he gets the kind of creative control he had at the beginning of Moreau before he lost it.
Fuck that. If he gets the creative control he has for Color Out of Space.
That's true.
If Color Out of Space, I mean, again, not a perfect Lovecraft
good
movie.
Modernization of that.
Not my perfect Lovecraft movie, but it was a lot of fun and I had a really good time and like
Tommy Chong.
And I would love to see his version of Dunwich Horror. I think that would be fucking sick.
Oh God, who would Tommy Chong be in that version? Would he be one of the
hope
rednecks?
Tommy Chong's not even in it.
Well, I have different opinions about Tommy than I did before I saw their last Cheech and Chong's last movie.
Oh, I didn't even see that shit. I just don't need him in it.
Well, anyway, that's a different topic for a different day. Kind of ruined my whole opinion of Chong and Cheech for that matter. But anyway, he's funny in it. Though. He's like the hippie.
Yeah, he's like the hippie guy.
Nick Cage is why you're there.
The colors, Duke. The colors.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dunwich Horror. Check it out. I think it's on Tubi.
It is on nothing.
No, it's on nothing. The 70s one is on nothing. So unless you have,
if you look it up, you're just gonna find the remake on YouTube.
I think it might. it might be on like. You have to pay for it. I think on Amazon. Is it on Amazon?
You know what? I take that back. It is on YouTube, but you do have to have an MGM Plus subscription.
Okay, so MGM Plus to watch it. It's behind a paywall unless you have a VHS or you have a Blu-ray. Physical media, anybody?
Or you hunt on the internet. There's places
I'm sure you can.
I'm
sure you can find it, but you can watch the awful 2009 remake on Tubi if you want to do that to yourself, which also stars Dean Stockwell and has a cameo. I would call it a cameo by Jeffrey Combs.
I wonder if Daniel Baldwin makes an appearance. Like I said, they've done a bunch of movies together, him and Dean.
It's not good.
Well, there you go. We might be in it then.
So yeah. So that's Dunwich Horror.
And now that we've talked about the invisible creatures from another dimension or something, if you want some more Movie Dumpster content, you can always head over to patreon.com/moviedumpster. For as little as $2 a month, you can get yourself some behind-the-scenes stuff. We have videos like our junk mail series where we open your mailbag kind of stuff, commentary tracks at the $5 and $10 tier. We got t-shirts, we got watch-alongs where we watch a movie with you guys, the Dumpster Dwellers, and all kinds of other stuff. We also have a YouTube membership program that's similar to that. You just don't get the physical items like that t-shirt I mentioned, but you get all the other digital stuff. So check it out if you're interested and if you want to support your favorite show.
And do us a quick favor. If you haven't liked this video already, if you're watching on YouTube, do us a favor. Hit that like button. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast app, again, do us that favor. Leave that 5-star review. Write us a little review. Whether you like the show, you don't like the show, let us know. What do you think? And if we're doing a good job, definitely put it in there for us because it helps the show reach more people, gets more people inside the dumpster, hanging out, talking movies, and hanging out with each other, growing this dumpster community.
And if you want to keep up with the Dumpster Dudes, you could always follow us on social media at Movie Dumpster or head over to moviedumpsterpodcast.com where you can find all our latest episodes and our upcoming events with a schedule of all the places we're going to be, plus our store if you want to buy a shirt or a pin or anything like that. We got beach towels out there. We got all kinds of stuff, Movie Dumpster merch. Check that out if you're interested. And speaking of a calendar of events, this is what we got going on soon.
From July 11th to the 13th, we're going to be at VHS Fest 9. They got an awesome lineup this year, including special guest Frank Henenlotter, which is amazing. And that, of course, is going to be at the mighty Mahoning Drive-In Theater in Lehighton, PA. So grab your tickets now.
That's MovieDumpsterPodcast.com, and we'll see you out there.
So that's it. That's the Dunwich Horror from 1970, directed by Daniel Haller. I'm Joe Lascola.
And I'm Sean O'Rourke.
Thanks for visiting the dumpster, and we'll catch you for the next Summer of Lovecraft episode.